Hello, everyone. How's everyone going? Um, yeah, I don't usually do these live, like solo chit chat streams, but I was figuring, hey, it's been a while it's been a while. It's been a while since I've done one of these. I think the last time was, well, I did my 10th anniversary thing, but that wasn't really solo because I only started out solo and then Alyssa joined and then Darren joined. It was like trickle in and then trickle out. Well, this time it's just me. No surprise special guests this time. Hey, Stephen Kennedy, good to see you. Maddie Brandon, thanks so much for joining. Just keep in mind that you feel free at any time to ask me questions or anything about anything. If I'm right in the middle of a thought, I might wait a bit to answer you, but yeah, try to bring up some interesting topics. I've come with some topics myself that I'm going to talk about, but it's good. Yeah, it's good to have one of these to just have interactions because when I do the live streams about a particular topic, like House of the Dragon or the top 25 Star Trek or something like that, I try to respond to the chat, but I'm not able to that much because we usually have to stay on topic and has to have a very specific discussion. And also, I don't want the videos to go very long, especially when I have two guests. We want to try to keep it under 2 hours, and with the Star Trek top 25, I try to keep that to like an hour and a half. And like, so the more I respond to the chat and the more we get off track, the longer the stream will be. But in in the cases of something like this, there's no worries. Like, I don't really care how long we go because it's just me. I go for as long as I feel like. I don't know if you noticed, but my tolerance for doing live streams is a bit longer than Alyssa. Like, she taps out after 2 hours, she says. But for me, we for House of Dragons, we ended up going 3 hours almost every time, which she said she was okay with, but it was kind of stretching her limit. Um, but yeah, so I try to keep it down a bit, but for this things, like, I don't care. Like, there's no specific topic. I'm just here to talk about whatever. So, y'all should feel free to chime in whenever about whatever. So, I was just watching Steve Shives. He was just doing an AMA, or ask away, as he says, and I think it was just about to end though. So I suppose that it seems like whenever I do one of these live streams, I'm always like someone else is doing one. I'm like, well, I can't watch yours, Mark, because I'm busy watching Jesse Gender. I'm busy watching Steve Shives. But here's the one thing I will say that that will put me above of Steve Shives live stream, and that is I'm a hell of a lot more likely to respond to you in the chat because I don't have nearly as many people watching. He's like a million subscriber channel or something like that. Anyway, where I just have a sort of a small gang, but and so Brandon was saying plain simple Mark. Yes. Plain and simple. Any, anyway, um, so I have been trying to promote my channel recently. I'm currently it's not something I share around too often, but I'm currently not working because of my back problems, my heart problems, all sorts of other problems, and so I got on disability, which isn't much. So I'm trying to find another job, but it's difficult because of my back, and I'm constantly sick all the time. Like, I couldn't go back to working like at a pizza place even if I wanted to. So I'm mainly looking for work at home jobs. But if I'm able to earn more money through my YouTube channel, that would be ideal. Like, I'm actually kind of jealous of people like Steve Shives and Jesse Gender and others, like even Lore Runner, who earn enough money from their YouTube channel to not work another job. Like that would be lovely. But I have no delusions that that's actually going to happen. But, if I could really supplement my income as much as possible so I don't have to work a job that I really hate for as long, can focus more on doing this would be ideal. So I've been trying tactics to try to I've been avoiding like clickbait. Like I don't have like if I really was trying I could put like those thumbnails with the little circle and arrow pointing to it, which I fucking hate those. Like that's the typical clickbaity stuff. But I also avoid clickbaity titles. But I do have the description I've realized because I go back I've been going through my older videos when I've been doing the Star Trek Revisited series, I noticed there's a certain cutoff point around 6 years ago. It was around 2018 or 2019, around that time where my videos went from having thousands of views to under 300. And even because sometimes when I first would upload the videos, even back in the day, especially the Star Trek ones, they would start out by not getting that many views, but then after a couple of years, it would go up to like 5,000 or something. But the videos that I made after 2018, even the ones that are like 5 years old, are still only at like 300. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And so I realized it was the YouTube algorithm that screwed me. In fact, I was already somewhat aware that the algorithm changed around that time, but I looked it up and saw specifically because I used to use like hashtags in my videos, and that's what would get them bigger hits. But eventually the hashtags became useless. Like they stopped having a place to put them because they made no difference anymore. So I was aware of this, but I'm now finally trying to do something about it. And that is by having clickbaity descriptions, it picks up stuff. Since I don't have the hashtags anymore, it picks them up in the algorithm and promotes it more. So I have this stuff like explained or in-depth analysis or recap and review and all this, make sure to just throw and have my descriptions be a lot longer, because I used to just say this is a review of this episode and that was it for the description. But I'm going back and trying to re-edit all the descriptions of my older videos to particularly Star Trek, because that's what I'm focusing on, my Star Trek reviews, to try to throw in all these keywords so that they hit more. And it's working. Like when I do YouTube searches for something review, my video tends to be towards the top now since I've started doing this. That has not yet translated in a lot of views, but I'm trying. And hold on, let me just jump in the chat real quick because it looks like J. Kamen99 has a question. Okay, question number 1. Have you ever considered asking subscribers to participate in your videos? Like actually have one of us in your top 30s, join the Zooms, things like that. Well, you can ask Brandon about that because he actually did do that once several years ago when I had Wes from the Penske File, and he actually joined the live stream. And mainly because we were doing like our countdown, like a combination of our countdowns, and I was doing it with Wes, but I wanted someone sort of objective to join to add like a third party to sort of offset me and Wes. And so I asked Brandon, and Brandon joined for that. But other than that, that is Patreon rewards. So if at the $15 level for Patreon, which I call the Garrick tier, you can, as long as each time that you pay the $15, you can request the stream for me to do and join the stream with me and do a live stream with me. So that is a Patreon thing, because it's that is something I sort of a way for me to push Patreon. And I do have two $15 supporters, but neither of them has elected to use that option. They just giving more money to me or helping me out more because they appreciate what I do. But they had that option, but they have yet to avail themselves of that option. See, Jordan Johnson, do these super chats help? I'm a big fan of your channel, so I want to support you. Okay, so the super chats do kind of help, but YouTube takes a bit more of a percentage out of them. What would be more helpful than the super chats would be Patreon. And also, for some reason, I was too lazy. I never changed my account information from YouTube from when I moved back to the States. And so my YouTube money still goes to my New Zealand account, which I use whenever I go visit New Zealand. But my Patreon goes directly to my US account, which I could use immediately. So, I mean, if you don't want a long-term Patreon thing, you could just join for a couple of months and then quit. I won't be offended. But no, Patreon would actually be much better than Super Chat. I just leave Super Chat as an option. Let's see. And JKman99 says, question 2, have you made any progress on your back? I have trouble walking more than 5 minutes at a time. So any advice there would be great. Well, it's hard to give advice because everyone's situation is different. I'm in physical therapy, so that would be my only advice is to go to physical therapy. And that has been helpful. So yeah, I think I mentioned in my review for The Loss how when I first started having my back problems, I could barely walk and I was screaming in pain and I had to use like a cane in order to walk. Whereas now, so that was almost a year ago. That was like 10, 11 months ago. And now I'm able to walk and go. Actually, I'm able to exercise, go for walks, carry stuff, but I still can't stand up for longer than 2 hours. That's when my back, and I still have days when my back really hurt. Like right now, my back's kind of hurting. That's why I have the pillows behind me. So it still bothers me, but I have shown a lot of improvement. And this, I think, was definitely all thanks to physical therapy. So that's my only advice is to go to physical therapy and to actually and try to be more active without pushing yourself to where it hurts. Like once you start hurting, they tell me stop immediately, like go to your stretching, your relaxing positions, but try to be more active when you can. Let's see. The good thing about your videos are they're timeless. Like years from now, someone will want a review for something random episodes you reviewed. Yeah, except for the videos that I do on like new episodes or new shows that just came out. I feel like they're not as timeless. Like even like the newer Star Trek shows like Lower Decks and stuff, I feel like that's more specific towards them having just come out, but not entirely. I suppose. Yeah, I mean, I think overall you're right. Although I do reference sometimes stuff from current times, but like I'm going back and I'm watching older videos from like the Penske File and Lore Runner and stuff, and Penske File in particular were referenced. Like I was watching some of their DS9 stuff, and they were like, referencing the first season of Discovery and be like, "Oh, this Discovery just came out" and whatever. So it does kind of date it, and I'm sure my videos would be the same way. But yeah, overall they are kind of timeless. Maddie Jester says, I think I'm the only O'Brien subscriber, the most important person in Starfleet history. You might say, yeah, you are at the moment, Maddie. There used to be more. So for those of you who aren't on Patreon who don't get the reference, I have different tiers like $1 tier, $3 tier, $5 tier, $10 tier, and $15 tiers. And instead of calling them, like I notice a lot of other Star Trek patrons will be like lieutenant level or commander level, but instead of doing that, I thought I'd name them specifically off of characters from Deep Space Nine, because Deep Space Nine is my favorite Star Trek show. So the $5 level is the O'Brien tier, which gets you pre-releases and access to Yeah, it's basically the pre-releases. Like before the $5 level, you don't get pre-releases. You get the access to my patron-only videos and to make comments on my videos. So, which yeah, $1 through $3 and $5 will get you that. Although $1 won't get you access to comments or all of my patron-only videos. It only get you access to one a month. $3 will get you all and able to make comments. $5, all that plus pre-releases, and then $10 is all of that plus you can request a video for me to do, and $15 all that plus you can do a live stream with me. Let's see. So Jordan Johnson says, Mark, can you tell me your first Star Trek memory? Mine was watching Balance of Terror and with my dad. My first okay. I'll tell you my first Star Trek memory, and it's not good. I remember when I was like 6 or 7 or something like that, very young. My mom used to watch Star Trek the original series because I believe, yeah, this was before Next Generation came out. So she used to watch the original series all the time and record the episodes. And for some reason, I had decided that I hated Star Trek. And I was like, every time she talked about Star Trek, I was like, I hate Star Trek. Star Trek sucks. So my my earliest memory of Star Trek is when she was taping, and I think I remember clearly, and my memory could have been trying tricks with me because this is when I was like 5-6 years old, but I'm pretty sure it was the episode Assignment Earth, because I think I remember seeing like Terry Garr and like the 60s stuff, and she was taping it off the TV while she was doing something else, and I wouldn't stop the tape just to be a little brat. And then she came down. I was like, what happened to the tape? And I felt so guilty. And I was like, oh God, I think I accidentally stopped it. And I was like, that was very shitty of me. So that's unfortunately, that is my earliest memory of Star Trek. There was a time when I was a bit older, maybe 9 or 10, where I was watching, I was just bored because this is like the 80s or early 90s, and before the time of the internet, and so I used to just get like random VHS tapes that people would just tape shit off the TV, and so I'd just get the random VHS tapes and watch them and see what's on them. And there was an episode of Star Trek on it, Bread and Circuses, which I was getting into. I was like, hey, this is actually not too bad. I think this is the first time I actually gave Star Trek a shot. I was like, this is not so bad. I actually like that episode. Nowadays, I hate that episode. But this is back when I was like 9 or 10. And I liked Bread and Circuses, and I was watching it. And then the tape ended before the episode ended. So I missed the last 10 minutes of it. So I never found out what happened to them until years later. So that's my first good memory of Star Trek. Let's see. Brandon says, I'm watching the same videos as you, Mark. Yeah. Although I was also watching Newbie Star Trek, which is a very interesting podcast. But I passed them because I usually, when I watch an episode for my channel that I'm about to review, I watch the episode, then I go and watch, reviews and podcasts from other people before I make my review, because I kind of want to get what other people's take on the episode are. And Newbie Star Trek, I surpassed them, so I can no longer watch it because they're only up to, so they were also up to season, and they're doing the shows together as they air, just like I am. But they're so they're also in season 6 of TNG and season 1 of DS9. But they're way back. They just put out God, what was the last one they put out? It was Q-less. And so I passed them. So I'll still watch the videos when they put them out, but I've not when I watch the episodes because I'm past them now. I'm actually, even though I'm currently releasing videos from season 6 of TNG and season 1 of DS9, I'm actually start watching season 2 of DS9 and season 7 of TNG because where I watch is far past. I try to stay a month ahead of where I'm releasing, of where I'm actually watching. and reviewing. And the Patreon supporters will know this because my comments that I ask for are ahead. They're like way in deep into season 7 of TNG. But it's funny because, and I watched several podcasts that do TNG and DS9 together at the same time as they air, but they all seem to do it in weird orders, like different orders. Like the newbie Star Trek one will say in their podcast, like, this episode originally came out on this air date. But I don't know where the hell they're getting their air dates from, because I get mine from IMDb, and theirs is different than what's stated on IMDb. And they always do, like newbie Star Trek in particular, do DS9 first, then TNG, and say, oh, the DS9 episode came out before the TNG. But actually, according to IMDb, Next Generation episode came out first. So they're sort of opposite to me. Like for example, like they'll do Q List and Face of the Enemy, and I did Face of the Enemy, then Q List. And from my recollection, because I did watch these when they first came out, is that IMDb is correct and whatever the hell newbie Star Trek is doing is wrong. Because, and in particular, I remember watching In the Hands of the Prophets on a Monday, and then the following Saturday watching Descent. And so, yeah, I mean, and in the way that they're doing, they'll probably do In the Hands of the Prophets, then Timescape, then Descent, or something stupid like that. I don't. And there's this other podcast that I was watching. I think it was called Green Shirt or something, where they were like way off. They were like doing the DS9 episodes like 2 weeks before the TNG ones, and I'm like, where are you getting this release schedule from? I think IMDb is correct, although, because what you got to keep in mind is, and this is something I don't think the people of newbie Star Trek realize, is that both Next Generation and DS9 were syndicated, were first run syndication. They were not shown on a network like CBS or anything like that. They were first run syndication, and not even UPN. Like Voyager and Enterprise were UPN, but TNG and DS9 predate UPN, although Deep Space Nine was airing while UPN was around, but it started before UPN was a thing. And that's the whole reason why they made Voyager in the first place, was to launch UPN. But TNG and DS9 were first run syndication, which means they would release them to the independent stations on a certain date, but the independent stations would play them whenever the hell they felt like it. So it was depending on what region you lived in the US, you could be watching at a different time. So maybe they're going by like LA, because they live in Southern California. So maybe they're going by like LA stations. Maybe they aired them on these certain dates, and maybe that's what they're going by. Like for me, like I had thought that both DS9 and TNG were released on Mondays, but according to IMDb, TNG was released on a Saturday and DS9 was released on a Sunday. Now I don't know if that's right, but I do know that my local station would play DS9 on Monday and then TNG on Saturday. So it could have been playing TNG as soon as it was released and waiting a day to play DS9. But either way, I think TNG was first. All right. That was a bit of a rant. Oh, God, it looks like we got a lot in the chat to catch up on. Let's see. Okay, so Jay came in saying, like, thanks to you, now YouTube has a review for every TOS episode. Like, that's pretty cool. I'm not the only one who's done every TOS episode, but thanks. Jordan Johnson, what's your proudest accomplishment with your channel? That's too hard of a question. I don't know. My proudest accomplishment. I got to think about that. I suppose right now I'm just focused on covering all the Star Trek episodes. Like doing those Game of Thrones theory videos, they're definitely my highest views. Like the biggest one was I did the ending season 6 finale predictions like 2 weeks before the season 6 finale aired, and that one got a ridiculous amount of views, like super fast. Like I was shocked. Like no video shot up that high. It had like hundreds of thousands of views within like 4 days, and I was like, "What an ever loving fuck!" I never had a video do that. In fact, I always remember a comment on that video saying, "Oh, you're using bots to artificially increase your views because your subscriber count is too low to get these many views." I'm like, dude, I'm not using bots. I have no fucking clue. But I wouldn't call that my proudest moment. That's just, I'm not really particularly proud of that. So I think in the Game of Thrones theory stuff, I'm not particularly proud of either. Although I am proud of getting the whole. One of the earliest prediction videos I made, I predicted that Arya would come back from the Faceless Men and kill Walder Frey and get very dark. And I remember all these people being, "That's stupid. That's the dumbest thing ever. That's not going to happen." And I remember when it happened, I was like, "Oh, fuck you. I got it right." But even then, I'm not sure that's the proudest. I think maybe the proudest would be some of my essay videos, like the end game. Maybe the end game thing where I went on for an hour and a half. I know some people thought I was babbling or too long, but I fuck those people. I think that was a really good video. And also the other two essay ones that I've done recently, the myth of fan entitlement and the myth of franchise fatigue. Although the franchise fatigue one is kind of meh. So the fan entitlement one I think was better. But that's probably what I'm proudest of. Let's see. But it's hard to say it. I have to think about that longer. JKman99, I did the Vegas Star Trek Experience ride where we walked throughout the bridge of the ship. I wish I understood what the heck was going on the time, because I did not. It's always one of my biggest regrets that I didn't do that. I was always too cheap to go because I've never been to Las Vegas. I kind of avoided going there, and I regret not going to the Star Trek Experience while I was around. And then I moved to New Zealand, and I was in New Zealand for most of the time it was running, and then it closed down while I was over there. So by the time I came back here, it was gone, which sucks. It's funny that they don't have it or something like it again now with modern Trek Star Trek is much more of a thing now. It seems like they should bring it or something like it back. Matty Jester, can you say what your current work is? Not name of an employer, just curious what you do for a living. Well, I was talking about that earlier. Currently, nothing. My current income is from disability. But before that, it was working at a pizza place. Not the funnest thing ever. So now my back doesn't allow for that kind of work. So I couldn't go back to that even if I wanted to. Let's see. Which I kind of don't want to. I'm trying to find something better that's just not customer service. I fucking hate customer service. Anyway, Brandon Neilhouse, I love Bad Star Trek is a fun channel, Mark. It's in no particular order though. Okay, I might check that out. Bad Star Trek. Stephen Kennedy, I just finished writing my comment on Homeward now. I have the pleasure to watch when Beverly found a new dildo episode, but both episodes are terrible. Hey, I actually love Homeward. So you and I are not gonna see eye to eye on that episode. But you're way ahead of me. I'm not that weird. You're into season 7, but I guess you have that in the can. So once I ask for the comments, you can just shoot it out immediately. At least Lower Decks is next. Well, that's an amazing episode too. But I'm sorry, I love Homeward. I think that's a great episode. Let's see. Dinner, light the candle. Anyway, and every time when I was watching House of Dragon, when we talk about Ryan Condal. I think I stopped myself, but so many times I wanted to, with Ryan Condal, I wanted to say, dinner light the Condal. Anyway, another comment from Jordan Johnson. What's your favorite Star Trek memory? Mine is watching the series premiere of Voyager with my dad on UPN when it aired back in '95. I think my favorite memory is watching Disaster, which is, as I talked about, the first episode I saw that while it aired. So all the other, I had seen other episodes of TNG and TOS before that, but they were in syndication, they were in rerun. So the first time I saw an episode as it aired was Disaster. And I remember watching that in late fall or winter when it was really cold and we had the fireplace going. I don't know if the Christmas tree was up. I kind of remember it being up, but I remember like drinking hot cocoa by a fireplace and watching Disaster. So that's probably my best memory of watching Star Trek. And I was watching it with my family too. Let's see, probably my sister, my mother and father. My brother never got into Star Trek, and of course, I'm not referring to Alyssa when I say my brother. We have a brother, but he never got into. He wasn't into sci-fi, and he never really watched Star Trek. Let's see. J Cayman 99. Okay, question 3. Similar question. What is your favorite video you made on your channel? Yeah, I think I answered that with the proudest thing. Yeah, probably the Voyager Endgame one. I'm trying to think what else. You know what? The thing is, to name a different one that I watched recently is when I did it for my revisit, it was my review for The Mind's Eye. Because I thought, wow, this is a really good review. And that sounds like I'm like being self-congratulatory too much. You should realize that there are times I go back and watch some of my older reviews and be like, ugh, I did not do a good job here. Or I think, oh, this is okay. But with Mind's Eye, I thought that was I think I did a really good job. I think it was a really good review. And it hardly gets any views. And that kind of pisses me off because these other videos that I don't really care that much about, like the top 10 Star Trek actors where everyone and their mother watched it and had like thousands of views, I can give a shit about that video. The ones that are really good, like The Mind's Eye, it's been out for like 3 or 4 years or something and still only has 300 views. That kind of pisses me off. But anyway, see, Stephen Kennedy, what do you think of season 2 of Rings of Power? I know you're doing a video on it at the end of the season. I'm into it so far, and not only am I doing a video on it, I think I'm going to be doing a live chat with Alyssa over on her channel. She wants to do one when it finishes. I think it's an improvement on season 1. I still don't think it's like the best thing ever. That's actually one of the things I wanted to talk about later on. But yeah, I don't really have much to say about it other than I think I agree with Alyssa on the Numenorian storyline being absolutely boring. I talked about this when I covered season 1 of it, that they had all these characters I could not give 2 shits about. And I still feel that way in season 2. In fact, season 2, I'm okay with how they're rushing through the storyline because I want them to just get to the fucking point because I don't give a shit about any of those characters. But they are rushing through the storyline. But and I wish they would rush faster. In fact, you just get it over with because I've been looking up the lore for Lord of the Rings, and something I've noticed is that the show is taking events that in the lore occurred over thousands of years, over like at least 1,000 years, and just condensing it all into like one moment. And in the lore, when this this war with the Rings of Power, this is all building up to what we saw in the prologue of the Lord of the Rings movies with Isildur and his father taking on Sauron and cutting the ring from him. When that occurred in the lore, there had been like these Numenorian cities like Minas Tirith and other places in Middle Earth had already been well established, and in the show they're not there. So I do wonder. It makes me wonder if they're going to make it so the Newman, not to spoil anything because I could be wrong, but it makes me wonder that if the faithful Numenorians are going to leave Numenor and go set up these cities in the show. Like in the lore, these cities already exist, and the faithful pretty much already left. But yeah, they're really janking up and fucking up the orders of things. But Brandon would be able to tell you much more about the lore than I will. I'm not an aficionado on that or anything like that. But the battle episode they just did was really good. I did enjoy that. And yeah, I like the storyline with the Sauron. I think is the best. Yeah, that's I like what they're doing with that. Let's see what else have we got here. Jordan Johnson. Yeah, one of my favorite scenes, by the way. Brandon saying the in-game video was a masterpiece. Jake Kamen 99. Question 4: what's your favorite scene in in-game? Say something positive about it. LOL. Anything. Well, actually, I did have in that hour and a half long video. I did have a section pointing out the one good moment in game, the one good scene, and I think, if I remember correctly, that is when like Tuvok was playing Kalto with Icheb. I can't remember why I liked that scene, but I remember thinking, no, this is actually a good character moment. And then the other moment was towards the end when when they got home and Harry Kim was like, had a tear in his eye. I was like, oh my God, we're home. Like, that was a good moment. But yeah, other than that, I can't remember why I like that Kalto scene, but I think I remember it was like a good character for like Tuvok and Icheb. But other than that, yeah, fuck that episode. Stephen Kennedy, I think my best memory of EOE is when he hated season 7 and 8 of Game of Thrones. He finally agreed with me. You know what? I want to take this back. One of my favorite videos that I did on my channel, and I went back and rewatched it recently, is when I addressed the strawmans of season 8 of Game of Thrones. And I talked about how people who liked the season were throwing out straw man saying, oh, you just didn't like it because your theories didn't come true, which is the dumbest shit ever and is a complete another straw man. And I still hear it to this day because, you know, people are just in denial about how fucking terrible that season is. So they have to throw shade at people who are not in denial and who can clearly see and understand story structure and understand that the thing was a giant piece of shit garbage. And I think I did that video about strawmans, and I did another video as well, and I think I did an amazing job. Those were my favorite videos. Another one of my favorite GOT videos is I did this video once called "The Current Status of Marine," which was after season 6, but before season 7 of Game of Thrones. So while the show was still good, and there was this video from Alt Shift X, you know, big, huge, popular Game of Thrones YouTuber. If you watch Game of Thrones at all, I'm sure you've heard of him. He did this video where he said, like, oh, he was saying some bullshit about, oh yes, this marine thing is not taken care of at all. Like the harpies are still out there. Freaking Daenerys renaming it the Bay of Dragons is just like George Bush saying mission accomplished and renaming North Korea Freedom Land. And so I'm like, you're fucking stupid. So I had no shade at all Shift X. I do appreciate this video. He's obviously way more successful than I am, but I didn't call him out by name either, and I refused to call him. I didn't even name him. And some people were like, oh, why aren't you naming the video? I was like, because this isn't about throwing shade at him, but it was about proving that wrong, because that was idiotic. It was very, and I did pull quotes. I had clips of scenes to back up my evidence of what I was saying about how it was very clear the show was indicating that it wasn't that the Sons of Harpy were not still out there, that the show was heavily implying that they were defeated, and that the Marine, because of what Tyrion was doing in making the city more prosperous, it made the need for these rebel groups are back fighting a lot lesser, not necessary. And and I think I did a damn good job of disproving that. And so actually, that's one of my favorite videos. I went back and watched that recently, and I was like, damn, this is a good video. Again, not to be too self-congratulatory. What else have we got here? Let's see. Mark, did you know there is this Star Trek cruise? I'm not a big fan of cosplaying, but they do have a lot of actors on the ship. Yeah, I know there's a Star Trek cruise. I would love to go on one if I could afford it, which obviously I can't. Maybe one day. Maybe one day. Let's see. Kimmin is not a lore character, nor Adar. I don't know who Kimmin is, but I know that Adar is not a lore character. That much I know. Elrond made out with his future mother-in-law. Throw up. Well, here, I don't mind that scene because he did it just to give Galadriel the key. Like, that was just a subterfuge. And when I was watching that scene, I'm like, this better be a subterfuge for her handing him something, for him handing her something. And it was, so I'm okay with it. And besides, after Game of Thrones, like, someone making out with their future mother-in-law shouldn't be that worrying. And House of the Dragon, for that matter. Oh my God, House of the Dragon. God, that is so confusing with all of the incest going on. But anyway, Stephen Kennedy. That's the only part of episode 7 that I didn't like, but it didn't piss me off like others did. Jordan Johnson, Mark, do you remember the episode Apocalypse Rising? I watched it at random yesterday and had one of those. I remember taping this episode as a kid and watching it 1,000 times moment. Yeah, I think I did actually tape that, but not necessarily watch it 1,000 times. It came out like at this time in my life, I kind of, like, it wasn't beyond Star Trek. I was still watching Star Trek, but I wasn't like obsessing over it and spending my time rewatching the VHS tapes over and over again. This is when I was like 16 or 17 and I moved on to do, smoke weed and stuff like this around this time. So Matty Jester, we nearly got Captain Harry Kim of Voyager B in Picard season 3. He was in the first draft. Thanks, Terry. I'm still bitter about it. Yeah, I'm kind of pissed off that he wasn't in it. That would have been amazing to see Captain Harry Kim. I'm really disappointed that wasn't the case. Stephen Kennedy, The Power of Love defeated the poor Queen. Fuck that show. No, I couldn't. You know what? The more I think about it, the more I don't like season 3 of Picard. Because when it first came out, I was like, there's some good things, there's some bad things. But now the more I think about it, like, the bad really outweighs the good. Even I love what they did with Ro. This will forever be my favorite part of the show. But overall, that season was just a mess. I'm sorry, but it was. And that ending was here. All right, hold on. I'm going to make a very, very bold statement, so brace yourselves. Those last 2 episodes of season 3 of Picard were just as bad as Endgame. They were fucking terrible. They were like childish. Okay, now I'm starting to backtrack. Nothing can be as bad as Endgame, but almost. Okay, I'll rephrase that. Almost as bad as Endgame. Yeah, they were absolutely terrible. All right, so I finally caught up on the chat. I think, and maybe have some more comments. Kenan is Farazan's son and doesn't exist outside the show The Rings of Power. Oh, okay. Yeah, that guy is a dick. I mean, not saying that he's like a dick the way Joffrey's a dick. I'm saying that he's a get off my screen character. Like, every time I see him, like, get the fuck off my screen. Fuck that. I wish he didn't exist. It's such a cliched character too. And I didn't know that specifically, but I could have guessed. Like, I would have figured that one out. So Jordan Johnson, Mark, you mentioned that turning Klingons into antagonists was a mistake for season 4 of DS9, but don't you think it had the effect of increasing viewership? How else would you bring Worf on board? Well, it didn't. I think it's empirically factual that it did not have the effect of increasing viewership. Although there tend to be a lot of wrong people out there who are objectively wrong, who say that people who are trying to get into Deep Space Nine should skip the first 3 seasons, which is one of the most idiotic things I've ever heard in my life. I mean, if anything, skip the first 2, but why the fuck would you skip season 3? Like, what in the hell is wrong with you? I really don't understand that. And plus, you skip like one of the best seasons of the show, season 3, so you can watch season 4, which is also a good season, but then immediately follow up with season 5, which is one of the worst seasons of the show. That doesn't make any sense to me. People who say that the show got better in season 4 and 5 are wrong. I'm sorry, they're wrong. Now, as for the Klingons, yeah, I'm still very much against this. And and the more I think about it, the more I talk about it, the more I'm just totally think in agreement where they never should have made the Klingons the enemies. It was a huge mistake. Now, I've been watching like these reaction videos. Like, there's this one channel I watched who covers Deep Space Nine. He's watching it for the first time, so I kind of live vicariously a bit through him. And he's currently in season 5 of DS9, so it almost feels like I just watched the episode because I watched it as. And he just did the 2-parter by what's it called? In Purgatory's Shadow and By Inferno's Light. And after I watched those videos, I thought to myself, this is something I'm probably going to say in my review once I cover those episodes, is that those episodes should have been titled Course Correction Part 1 and 2. Because that's when the show realized that the huge mistake they made by focusing on the Klingons and making them the enemies. And they course corrected it by saying, no, the Klingons should actually be allies, and the show should focus on the Dominion and Cardassians as enemies, which is what saved the show. That's why season 6 and 7 were so good. The Dominion War is fucking brilliant. The Klingon War, not so much. And I hate the fact, and that's part of the reason why I don't like Apocalypse Rising so much. I hate the fact that they had a Klingon Federation war. I think that was the dumbest thing ever. And moreover, that episode, was it called War the Battle to the Strong with Jake? And he's going into this planet that's under attack by the Klingons. I fucking hate that episode. And the main reason is because it has the Klingons attacking a Federation world. They shouldn't fucking do that. Klingons should not be enemies. They worked way better as uneasy allies in TNG. Like, them being enemies is a thing of the past. That's the original series. Move beyond that. And Discovery, at the very least, takes place during the original series time, so I'll let them get away with it. Well, that is if they didn't totally fucking ruin the Klingons by making them look like orcs and having them say Kaelish. But that's another fucking topic altogether. But as far as Deep Space Nine, yeah, I'm getting on the rant. I feel very passionate about this. And when you ask how else would they bring Worf, well, I'll tell you how else they could have brought Worf on the show. They should have done what they did in season 5 with bringing Martok on to have a Klingon contingent on the station. They should have just fucking started with that. Skip the whole, don't make them fucking enemies. And I said this, like, the Way of the Warrior could have been a one-off. They could have just been, by the end of the episode, they could have just been like, okay, we disagreed on this, but now the Federation Klingons are back to being allies. Like, that would have been fine. You could bring Worf on for that, and then part of the compromise, maybe, of the peace treaty lasting between Starfleet and the Klingons was, well, Gowron be like, okay, but we're going to assign a permanent contingent of Klingons to your station. And they're like, fine. So you bring on Martok, you have Worf there. They should have just done that to fucking begin with. Like, skip over the whole Klingon conflict thing. For every time they went back to it in season 4 and 5, it it pissed me off. And I feel and that's why I would never say season 4 is the best season of the show. I can't get why people would say that. And honestly, I do think season 5 is the second worst season of the show behind season 1. As I said, I'm watching season 2 of DS9 right now, and yeah, it's better. I think it's better than season 5. In fact, Darren, who comes on this channel, he was watching Deep Space Nine for the first time. And I remember talking to him while he was watching season 5, and he was talking about how it's a hard season to get through. And I'm like, just, push through it. Once you get towards the end of season 5, once they course correct and make the Dominion the enemies again, then it gets good again. And so he's in season 6 now, I believe. Like we did that discussion for Sacrifice of Angels not too long ago. And he absolutely agreed. He totally agreed. And Alyssa totally agrees with me that season 5 is one of the worst seasons of DS9. And I don't understand when I hear these people talk about like season 5 is the best season of the show so far. Like that guy who I was talking about that I watch, he does the reaction videos. Like he was like, oh, this is even better than season 4, which is even better than season 3. I'm like, the fuck are you talking about? Like, it's not a good season. It has it gets better towards the end with episodes like Soldiers of the Empire and Call to Arms, I guess. I don't know. It gets a little bit better towards the end. Like, I don't like Impact Noir. I think that's a terrible episode trying to be like horror. But it's absolute crap. Like, not just Let He Was Without Sin, but The Assignment, like that was just cliche bullshit. The Ascent was one of the worst episodes of the show. Quark and Odo just snapping. Yeah, so fucking annoying. And the bullshit with Jake being on the planet. Like that was a shitty episode, regardless of the Klingons being there, because it had like this crazy shitty acting with like the soldier guy dying on the ground. Oh, kill me, which was so dumb. Season 5 is not a good season. The DS9 is not. Sorry. I'm going off on a rant now. Sorry. Anyway, Brandon's still talking about Lord of the Rings. Elendil doesn't have a daughter either. Yeah, I'm not too surprised about that. Jordan Johnson, I wouldn't ship season 2 either. There are some amazing episodes in season 2. Oh, skip. Yes. I wouldn't skip. Yeah. What I would say to anyone, actually, I told Darren, by the way, that he should skip seasons 1 and 2. And Alyssa say, well, watch the season finale of season 2 because you need that Jim Hadar thing. But he did, but I think Darren actually went back and watched season 1 and 2 because I think he felt he was missing too much. So I think you're right. I think you shouldn't skip either season 1 or 2. But I think for season 1, you should look up what the good popular episodes are and just watch like 10 of them. And maybe do the season 2, I think you just skip the middle. Like there's a big middle batch of episodes that are shit. And like fucking Rivals. Definitely skip that. But yeah, but maybe not skip the entirety of season 2. Let's see. Stephen Kennedy saying Klingons in Discovery reminds me of Jim Hadar. Yeah, but nowhere near as good. Klingons in Discovery. Matty Jester, remember when DS9 went back to that horrible 2024? I wouldn't want to live there. Yeah, I did a live stream because that actually happened. We caught up to the day that happened to in the Bell Riots. Yeah, it's I don't think it's much worse than present day 2024, to be perfectly honest. So what else? So I was also going to talk about how part of what I'm doing to promote my channel is I'm making shorts of videos, and you may have noticed on my channel, I'd started it last week. So what I'm doing is, and I'm doing this to preview videos that before I release them. So, and I'm going to do this pretty regularly, that a week before a video is going to be released, I'll make 3 shorts out of it. And so each short is a minute long and upload it. So, and I do this each time 1 week before. So that's why I started with Progress, and I did Rightful Heir, and then what did I do? If Wishes Were Horses, and Dramatis Personae, and Second Chances. And I just did one for the Top 25 live stream. Hold on, I just want to answer Jordan Johnson. Mark, how many autographs from the cast do you have? 0. I didn't really go to many conventions. Actually, I had never been to a Star Trek convention. And I've only been to one general sci-fi convention. There wasn't any Star Trek stuff there. So, and I didn't buy any on eBay or anything like that either. So 0 is the answer. But anyway, yeah, so I'm doing shorts on my channel. So yeah, it's a way to, you can check it out and get little previews for the videos that I will be releasing. And they're pretty popular too. I think it is a bit of more of a successful way to attract more people to my channel. So if you have any idea on anything I can make to a short from my older videos that I made a long time ago, just drop a comment, let me know. Because I'm typically not doing the older videos. I'm focusing more on my newer videos. But if I have done a couple, like Brandon suggested one from Whom Gods Destroy. So if you have any ideas or anything, particular snippets of some of my older videos, yeah, drop a comment. I might check it out, might make a short out of it. Because I definitely made a short out of that one I did for the episode Next Phase. I thought that was a good moment. I was like, oh, I got to make a short out of this. When I was saying what Riker's memorial speech about Ro would have been, when what I have him say, like, oh, I hated her. She was so insubordinate. She didn't listen to me. But then we lost our memories and we banged a couple times. And now I think she's okay. So any funny moments like that or something. Maddie Jester says I can wear shorts if it helps Mark. If it helps Mark's channel. Well, I think that's something entirely different, but I appreciate the thought, though. I appreciate the thought. Let's see. Stephen Kennedy says maybe make a short about some of the Patreon comments or something like that. You just want me to make a short about your Patreon comment. Maybe I can make one about that time when you listed all the characters that died. Although that wouldn't be a short. I went on for like 30 minutes about that. It was my video for Transfiguration, which I talked about that episode for like 20 minutes, but the video ended up being like an hour and 10 minutes long because I spent like 30 minutes just addressing your one Patreon comment. Good times about that. Jordan Johnson, one of the conventions I went to had the 2 aliens from Allegiance. They're the ones who get trapped in the force field on the bridge. Oh, like cosplaying or the actors who played them? Brendan Neilhouse, I'm wearing chalk shirts to support Mark's channel. Well, I appreciate the sentiments here, but I don't think it's actually that helpful. But I was talking to Alyssa the other day because I could tell that the shorts were working a bit. Oh, the actors. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know if I'd be interested to meet the actors on that. Oh, they were both there. Okay. But yeah, I could tell. I was talking to Alyssa the other day that I could tell that the shorts were working, that they were attracting, and I was getting more people watching my channel. And how I knew this, how I could tell, was the fact that I started getting more trolling comments. Because I remember back in the day when my channel used to get way more videos, we get bombarded, and this is something Alyssa had to deal with as well with her at Kentanko days, is that we get bombarded by trolling comments. And that's something I don't miss about having more views, because the more views a video got, the more trolling comments I would get. Which most of the trolling, like the ones that are just like, shut up, you dumbass, go fuck a frog or something like that, like they're easy to dismiss. They're like, yeah, you're foolish. Kind of, some of them are good for a laugh too, which how stupid they are. But the ones that annoyed me the most is the one I got recently, or the type I got recently, which was the condescending type, where they're like, oh, well, if you really want to help your channel, what you need to do is this, and this is how you could help, and oh, you're dumb for doing this. Now, don't get me wrong, like, I do appreciate helpful comments, and I've had helpful comments from people who are genuine before, who do give helpful creative feedback. I've gotten that and I appreciate that. But the condescending things is different. It's not helpful. It is not constructive criticism. It's just someone acting all smug and superior like they know better than me. And usually telling me to change the content of my channel, which fuck you. If you don't want to like the content, don't watch my channel. It's that simple. And so I got this comment recently where this guy said, so the first part of the comment read, look, I just want to help you. I really want to help you. So please hear me out, because I know you're really passionate about Star Trek. So that's all I read. I read those two sentences and I immediately knew this was going to be condescending bullshit. That's all I need to hear to know. Yeah, this is going to be condescending bullshit. But I read the rest of the comment just out of curiosity. And sure enough, it was complete condescending bullshit, saying that, oh, you're rambling on for too long, and I was so bored with your rambling. You're so uninteresting. And I'm like, how the fuck would you consider that constructive criticism? You're just insulting me. And plus, you're being a dick about, I want to help you. Yeah, fuck off. Here, I just deleted the comment because that's what I do with trolls. But if I were to respond to it, I would have said something like, here, let me give you this help, even though you should know this already and I shouldn't have to point this out to you. But when one of my videos pops up on your watch page, you go to these three little dots in the corner, pick do, and just select do not recommend this channel. You fucking moron. If you don't like the channel, that's fine. There's obviously plenty of people who do like it. There's plenty of other videos similar to what I do with doing long form reviews. And if it's not your thing, then simply fuck off. Don't act like you're superior to me and that I should just tell me what to do. Fucking idiots. Anyway. Stephen Kennedy is saying the preemptive strike video will be 2 hours with my comments. I know you and I are not going to see eye to eye on that, because I know. So here's the thing, Stephen, try not to make it like, if you make a comment that's like 2 pages long, I'm probably not going to read it and ask you to shorten it. And if I do end up getting more Patreon supporters, then I might have to start putting a word limit on the Patreon comments, because sometimes they do take up like 30 minutes of an hour video, which I'm okay with. And usually it's because I take a long time to respond to it. But if it starts to get out of hand where we get too many, I might have to start putting word counts on it. But that's only wishful thinking that I'm going to get more Patreon supporters, which, by the way, is what I would actually help me the most, is Patreon supporters, more so than like views on the videos. Like I get fuck all money from YouTube. Yeah, so that's really what I'm after, is Patreon supporters. But anyway, Brandon Ohio is saying, I'm back in the Game of Thrones day so long ago. Yeah, exactly. And Aaron, here for the ramble. Well, thank you. I'm glad to see. Oh, and there was one of the shorts where I think it was Aaron. It was either you or someone else that said, oh, great analysis, great job. And then we got this troll came on and responded and said, stop making your duplicate accounts to praise yourself. I'm like, yeah, ha ha, fuck off. But because people do appreciate what I do, and I appreciate you for appreciating what I do. I wouldn't, honestly, when I do my spiel of thanks for Patreon supporters, I'm not just talking out of my ass. Like, if I didn't have these loyal Patreon supporters and other commenters on my channel who aren't Patreon supporters but still support me, I wouldn't keep doing this. Like, they do. You guys are what keep me going. Now, if there wasn't anyone who did really appreciate it, then yeah, I wouldn't bother. But what a wanker, absolutely. 100%. Jordan Johnson, Mark, there's a really, really good documentary on Star Trek Voyager that just came out on YouTube, by the way. It was very informative. Okay. Well, what was it? What's it called? I'm going to check it out if you don't tell me what it is. So the other thing I was going to mention, I'm not sure if anyone noticed one of these in the background of my videos. I've had it for like over a month or so. It is the non-binary flag, and the reason why it's there is because I identify as non-binary. It's not something I want to make a big deal about. It's not like Alyssa, like I'm not going to change my name or identity or even my appearance, really, but it's just something I've been coming out a bit more public about, that I prefer people not use male pronouns with me or not refer to me as a male, because I just don't identify as one. Yeah, I would prefer they, them pronouns. But it's not like if you say he, it's going to offend me or anything. It's still fine. Like, officially, I would say I use he, they pronouns. But it's moreover, I don't like being referred to as a male. I just don't, and I realized in recent years that I never have identified as one. I just didn't really understand it until it wasn't that recent. It was actually like 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. I just never wanted to make a huge deal out of this. But yeah, so that, I don't know. I don't think anyone even pays attention to my backgrounds, but that's why I went to a Pride event in a resort town near the ocean. Only like a 2-hour drive from where I live. Back in July, and they had like a Pride event, and that was really fun. I have this Star Trek shirt. You can't really see what shirts I wear in my videos, but it's a kind of a Pride Star Trek shirt because it has the different emblems of the different aliens, like Klingon, Bajoran, Cardassian, Starfleet, Romulan, but they're all like rainbow colored. So I think it's I don't know if it was intended to be a Pride Trek shirt, but I think it's one. And I wore that to the Pride event that I went to, and I got like at least 5 different people complimenting me on that shirt. In fact, there was another person there who also had a Star Trek Pride shirt. And that one, I think, was more obvious. That I think it actually said Star Trek Pride on it and had like the Enterprise with the rainbow going through it. And then I stopped and I had several conversations with people about Star Trek. So yeah, so that one was pretty cool. Yeah, so as I said, no big deal. It's just something I would throw out there because it's hard. I don't want to make a big deal out of it, but then again, how people not going to use male pronouns with me if I don't tell them. But anyway, I'll put that back up later. Let's see what we got in the chat. Mark, what will you do when you finish all of Star Trek? Probably stop my channel like Alyssa did. But keep in mind, all of Star Trek includes modern Trek. So it's going to be a while. It's going to be quite some time before I get there. But who knows? Like, something else could happen between now and then. Maybe I might stop before then. You never know. Let's see. Aaron saying, neat, sounds good. Jordan says, fun fact, I learned they reshot the scenes with Janeway hair down at a cost of over $1 million. I think I heard that one before. It's been a while since I heard that, but I think I had heard that one before. Brandon saying, as long as I can still call you friend, Mark. Well, of course, you can always call me friend, Brandon. What was that? Oh, that's right. I just watched the episode Gambit, part 2, where Data and Worf have that little Worf being a total dick to Data, and so Data has to call him into the ready room and tell him off. Right, I've had similar situations to what Data had to go through when I was directing short films, because I didn't really earn my position as director. I was basically just decided to fund it, and therefore I was director. And so some of the people working under me didn't respect me because they didn't think I earned it. And so I would have to set them aside and be like, look, you can disrespect me all as you want in private, but don't fucking do this shit in front of the crew or the other actors. That undermines me. Yeah, that guy was a dick, though, who was doing that. But anyway, the reason why I bring that up is because when you said, as long as I can still call you friend, because that's what Data and Worf, it did seem kind of iffy the way Data said, I'm sorry if I've ruined your friendship. And Worf was like, I would like to continue to consider you my friend. It is I who put it at risk. And how that's kind of awkward dialogue. Like, it's especially Worf, it seems a bit out of character for them. I don't know. When I watched the Penske File and they were making fun of that. Like, Wes and Clay, like Clay is like, Wes, I'm sorry if I ruined our friendship. Oh, jeez. Anyway, Aaron saying, quite a cool idea for the rainbow. Indeed. Jordan saying, everyone in the chat should watch this documentary. It was crazy detailed and very informative. What's it called? You haven't said what it's called yet. How can we watch it if you don't tell us the name of it? Anyway, Stephen Kennedy, oh shit, my preemptive strike comment has 911 characters so far. And I haven't even watched the episode yet. Yeah, you might have to shorten it. As I said, I know we're not going to agree. We're going to butt heads. We already disagree about Roe. And I fucking love Preemptive Strike. It's in my top 10 episodes of TNG. So for what your comment is saying is that how much it sucks, yeah, we are not going to see eye to eye. I think it's an amazing episode. So Maddie's saying, I'm going to have to go now. It's past 2 a.m. now, but Mark will always be a legend to me. Keep smashing those Star Trek reviews. I'll be watching. Well, thanks so much, Maddie, and thanks for joining. Thanks for staying up late. I will absolutely continue to keep smashing those reviews as long as you keep watching. So if you stop, Maddie, then I'm going to stop my channel entirely. Like, everyone else would just be shit out of luck. I'm like, nope. Maddie Jester stopped watching my channel, so I'm not doing any more. No, I'm kidding, of course, obviously. But anyway, no, it does help. As I say, I'm not just blowing hot air when I say like the support to my channel is what keeps me going. Absolutely is. Especially when I deal with those dumbass trolling comments. With any luck, I'm going to have to deal with a lot more soon, hopefully. I'm wishing for trolling comments because that means I'll be getting more views, but we'll see. Jordan says, I put a link in the chat. Okay. Well, does it not have a name? Anyway, Stephen Kennedy, Worf is way better on Deep Space Nine than TNG. Yes, I agree. Although here's the thing, like, the people who say Deep Space Nine got better with Worf, I think are wrong. I don't think Worf makes Deep Space Nine better. I think he was a better developed character in Deep Space Nine than he was in TNG. He was just a stereotypical security chief who stood in the background and was like, sir, I think we should fire phasers. In fact, they kind of Lower Decks, the show kind of makes fun of that with Shax. But in Deep Space Nine, he was more of a fleshed out character. But I don't think he makes the show good. which is why those idiots who say you should just skip the first 3 seasons are objectively wrong and should be ignored and made fun of. All right, maybe not made fun of. I don't want to be cruel, but they should definitely be ignored. 100%. Because, and here's the thing with Worf and DS9, I feel like he never really fit in. And my one criticism I have with DS9, even though it is my favorite Star Trek show, is that the later seasons didn't really have that camaraderie and sense of family that the other crews have, even Voyager and TNG. Well, earlier seasons of Voyager. The last 2 seasons of Voyager was shit, and it was just the Doctor and 709 show. Especially, well, the last season, I should say. Season 6 was okay. It was off and on. But yeah, DS9 more fractured into like cliques. It was kind of like the O'Brien and Bashir clique. It was the Kira Noto clique. It was the Dax and Worf clique. It was the Sisko and Cassidy and Jake clique. And I mean, sometimes there was some intermingle between these cliques, especially Sisko. He would integrate himself in a lot of the different storylines. But I feel like there wasn't that cohesion of a family crew that we get in TNG. And there are some episodes that definitely try, that you see them making an effort on that, and I give them an A for effort for trying, but it never really was overwhelming. It wasn't like a dominant theme the way it was in TNG and Voyager, in my opinion. Like, I was thinking one of the episodes that tried was Take Me Out to the Holosuites. What a stupid episode. But anyway, let's see. Jordan Johnson, Mark, speaking of awkward dialogue, I still can't get over Janeway's conversation with Chakotay and Knight. A complete 180 on regretting the decision to destroy the array. Yeah, that was bad writing, and that's something I'll cover when I get to season 5 of Voyager. But season 5 of Voyager was really just, that was when Brennan Braga took over as showrunner, and I said before, and I'll say again, Brennan Braga he's a good writer, but he's a bad showrunner. He had no business being a showrunner of Trek. And yeah, season 5, they were trying to rewrite the show. They were like retconning all of the characters instead of going with further developing the characters. They were just giving them traits that they never had before, like making Chakotay a boxer, making Harry Kim horny, making I don't know, making Janeway regret the fact that she, even though like for 4 years she never regretted, just all of a sudden out of the blue she regretted it and became super depressed. Oh, speaking of depressed, they made B'Elanna suicidal in season 5, which also was out of the fucking blue. I don't think season 5 of Voyager was the worst season ever, but they didn't know what to fucking do with it. It was very clear that they had no clue what they were doing. Like, Brennan Braga sucks as a showrunner. Sorry, but he does. It's just a fact. Just a fact. It's what a wild coincidence that Enterprise got better when he stopped being a showrunner. Oh, what a coinkydink. But anyway. Anyway. So, Stephen Kennedy, the show was great. Well before Worf. The show was great because of Dominion and, of course, Gul Dukat. Agreed 100%. Oh yeah, the other thing about In Purgatory's Shadow and By Inferno's Light and why it should be called Course Correction Part 1 and 2, they also course corrected Gul Dukat, because in season 4 and 5, another thing I hate about season 5 is, well, season 4 more so, is that they started making Gul Dukat more of a sympathetic nice guy, which, no, he's a fucking Nazi. He's a Hitler fucking analogy. I don't want to be friends with Hitler. What the fuck are you doing by making him a nice guy? And so those 2 episodes course corrected and made him the villain that he should be. Now, It's so funny because there's this weird faction of strange people who think that they ruined Gul Dukat's character in later seasons and made him two-dimensionally evil because he was more sympathetic in earlier seasons. And I'm like, the fuck are you talking about? Like from season 1 and 2, he was portrayed as a slimy, smug overseer of a Holocaust. He has never been a good guy. You're out of your fucking mind if you think he was not. Like I think Steve Shines did this video once. Is Gul Dukat a hero? Of course, fucking not. Like that's like asking if Skeletor is a hero or if Joffrey from Game of Thrones is a hero. Of course, he's not a hero. What the fuck is wrong with people? Well, to be fair, part of it is season 4 and 5. They tried to make him sympathetic, which was fucking dumb. They even tried to make Kai Wynn sympathetic in season 5. What the fuck was that shit? She's a power hungry fucking mad woman who just wants power and doesn't give a shit about anyone else. Yeah, so this is another reason why I didn't like season 5 that much. But anyway, anyway, Brandon, Miles spends more time with Julian than he does with Keiko. That's meant to be comment. Like, I kind of don't like it when people suggest a gay romance because of that. It's meant to be comment on certain men who kind of find platonic relationships easier than romantic ones. And that's what it's saying. It's never saying that O'Brien was romantically in love with Julian. It said that he kind of sucked at being a husband and would rather go to the bar and have some pints than actually spend time with his wife and daughter. And apparently that's kind of a common thing, I suppose, but it does portray him as a bad husband and a bad father. But anywho, Jordan Johnson, I thought season 1 Janeway was the best. Maybe season 4. Agreed. Totally agreed. So I like season 2 Janeway. It's funny. It's going to be interesting going through Voyager season 2 again because so many people say that's the worst season of Voyager. And I actually think it's one of the best seasons of Voyager. Now, granted, there are a lot of shitty episodes. Everyone points to Threshold. But every season has shitty episodes. Season 6 of DS9 had shitty episodes. Had fucking Prophet and Lace. Season 6 of TNG had shitty episodes. I fucking had Man of the People and Suspicions and Rascals. Every season has bad episodes. And some of the good seasons have a lot of bad episodes. But season 2, despite its bad episodes, it had more of a camaraderie with the crew. Like, I just love what they did with the overall tone of the show better than the bullshit they'd started doing in later seasons. Hold on, my throat's getting dry. I need to have a stop for a drink break. You know, if I was thinking if I ever got big enough to do sponsors, I would call Waterloo and ask them if I could sponsor them because they're fucking sparkling water. I fucking love it. But of course that they would never do that. But you know. And here's the thing, like if I ever was gonna do sponsors, and I did have people ask me before, but I never would want to do a sponsor from a product I don't use or I don't like. Because I think the one that asked me before is like a VPN. And I was like, oh, well, I need to actually try this VPN first before I actually do it. But my channel's so small, I figure like they must be a shitty product if they're asking me. But maybe one day my channel might get bigger. But who says? Brandon says, what? No root, Mark? Well, I had root beer earlier. I might have root beer again, actually, but you missed it. It was a couple hours ago. I'm trying to cut back on my sugary drinks, although I drink the stevia version, but still, I'm trying to cut back on that. And this is basically just flavored water with carbonation. Anyway, what else have we got? Let's see. Hold on. Where are we at? Okay, I'm further back in the chat. Let me try to get caught up. Trying to find where it was at. What is your favorite race in Trek? For me, it was the Cardassians. Yeah, I think I'd say the Cardassians too. They were always my favorite growing up. Just by watching the episode The Wounded, like before even know that they ever appeared again. Like I loved them just from The Wounded. And when I heard that they were going to be the main villains on Deep Space Nine, I was so over the moon. I was so excited. I was like, yes. So I mean, they're despicable, but that's that's what makes them so interesting. So I had to go with the Cardassians too. I mean, favorite as in most interesting to watch, not favorite I'd actually want to be one of them. Hell no. Let's see. Jordan Johnson. I thought season one. Oh, I read that one. Steven, 7 of 9 saved the show for me in the last few seasons. Season 4, 7 of 9 did save the show. And the start of season 5 with 7 of 9 was good. With episodes like Drone and Timeless. But then they kind of ruined her character, particularly in season 7. She became so boring and uninteresting in season 7, especially that whole Chakotay bullshit. Season 6, she was okay, but she wasn't really as interesting. Like season 4 and 5 were definitely the best for 7 and 9. Brandon saying, I hated Dukat and Wynn relationship. I liked it. I know that's something that Wes from the Penske File really hated and railed against. I think the storyline had bad pacing. I totally agreed with him that they ran through. They were like taking too much time on it, and they didn't know what to do, so they just made Dukat disappear for 3 episodes and then brought him back. So I agree it had bad pacing, and also it was mostly set up and very little payoff. So definitely had bad pacing, but I like their interaction. I like the interaction between Wynn and Dukat. I think it makes all the sense in the world for Kai Wynn. I think it's the best thing they did with her character. I think it was the thing that made most sense for her to turn her into a Pah-wraith follower, because they made it very clear, like, she doesn't give a shit about the prophets. She only cared about her own power, which was her character from the very beginning. You know, I say this just having watched In the Hands of the Prophets in the Circle trilogy. It was very clearly her character from the beginning that she only cares about power. Very clearly. She didn't give a shit about the prophets. That's why her appearance in that season 5 episode Rapture was totally out of character for her and bullshit, because she was actually praising the prophets or actually trying to help Siska. She didn't give a fuck about the prophets. She just cares about her own power. So the whole Dukat thing actually made complete sense. I think it was one of the best uses of her character. Jordan Johnson, didn't they try to make Damar sympathetic too, though? Well, towards the end, yes. But they did it in more of a believable way. Like, they didn't try to. They made him kind of an ally of our main characters, but in the sense of just their goals aligned. And they also pointed out, just like when he was like, there were some amazing scenes. Like what they did with Damar at the end of season 7 was fucking amazing. Like it was well earned. I would actually fight back to say they weren't making him as a good guy. I don't think they were even making him be sympathetic. He is sympathetic in terms you can sympathize with him losing his family, but they don't hide the fact that he's a Cardassian who's done some bad shit. And he was, to be fair, turning a new leaf, but they wasn't automatically forgiven. I think it was a lot. I don't think it's comparable to what they did with Dukat. I think it was a lot more believable. Let's see. Brandon saying, hate to break it to you, Mark, but there's a shitload of idiots out there. Well, I know. No, that's no big revelation for me. Anyway, Stephen Kennedy, the first evidence that Dukat was a bollocks was in the episode Cardassians. I don't know. I think in Emissary they made it pretty clear as well. He just didn't appear as much, but it was definitely clear that he was a Bollocks. um, Stephen Kennedy, I will have something to say when O'Brien and Bashir become friends. Uh, in a good way. Okay. Fair enough. Let's see. Hello, Will Ferrell number one. How are you? Now's the time for your random questions. Good to see you. Stevia tastes sweeter, Mark. No, I don't think it does. It doesn't taste sweeter than sugar. I've been drinking sugary sodas, and now I'm having the stevia sodas, and they're clearly not as sweet. But maybe it depends on what you have them in. Peace and long life, Jordan Johnson. Did you like the DS9 episode Move Along Home? Oh, come on. Have you never seen my channel, Will Ferrell number one? Of course I did. Didn't I talk about this so many times? I like that episode. I don't love it. I gave it a 6 out of 10, so it's not like I'm going to call it a masterpiece. It's not like I'm going to put it at number 12 of my top 25 episodes of Star Trek. It blows my mind that some people actually fell for that prank. You really think I would put that up as number 12? Like out of the 500 episodes that Move Along Home would be number 12. I don't know. Maybe you just didn't think about it and just took my word for it because Mark would never prank us. but I do like it though. I totally don't understand and don't agree with all the people who hate it and call it one of the worst episodes ever. I think it's fun. I think there are way worse episodes than it. I love seeing Sisker going, Oliver Rain. It's funny shit. Let's see. Brandon Neal saying Unimatrix Zero Yucko. Yeah, fuck those two powders. Those were terrible. And then Jordan Johnson. That episode reminds me of Daddy Daycare. Yes, there are some very cringe moments, but overall good. Talking about Unimatrix Zero or Move Along Home? I never saw Daddy Daycare, so I wouldn't know. Anyway, I hate to do this, but nature is calling. So I'm going to have to run to the bathroom really quick. I'll only be a couple minutes. I'm not ready to end the stream quite yet, so you just have to wait like 2 minutes. I'll be right back. You can ask questions while I'm gone. I answer them when I get back. Don't have any electric fences around here, Brandon. Jeez. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to sort of preview is speaking of Patreon, I have something special planned for my Revisited for Duet. which is, as you know, one of my favorite episodes. And I'm coming up on my Revisited for Duet in a week, I would say, like not this Monday, but the following Monday. And recorded something very special that I did put in a lot of effort. I did a lot of research, and I did an hour and a half video where the first half hour is just me talking about it and giving all these background facts and quotes from the director and the actor, and just talking more, covering stuff that I didn't cover in my original review. But then for the last hour of the video, I actually watch the episode Duet, and you can get your own copy and watch it along with me. But you don't have to. It's not required, but it might be helpful. So you see what I'm talking about. But it's never just me staring at the screen watching the episode, like I'm talking throughout the whole time. And I mainly watch the episodes so that I can get into deep dive analysis of every single scene, like break the episode down scene by scene, which is not something I normally do. And I thought Duet was such a great episode that it deserved that kind of treatment. And I was considering making that video public, but decided not to, because I need to give a special treat to my Patreon supporters, because what they do is very much appreciated. But it will be available for all Patreon supporters at any level, so even $1. And I was going to make an ad for the announcement video, I should say, for next Monday, because it's going to be released the following Monday. And it's also available for one-time purchase. If you don't want to commit to a monthly purchase, you can purchase the video for $3, but Patreon takes $1.50, so it's really $4.50, I think, US currency. It would be cheaper if you just got a $1 Patreon support for 1 month and then canceled it immediately. I don't know if Patreon might take something out of $1. I don't know if they do, but I'm gonna make that the option available. So, and I'm gonna let everyone know about it, because I'm actually someone asked me earlier about videos I'm most proud of. This is one of the videos I'm most proud of. Like, I went and dug deep about this episode because I really care about it. And yeah, I did a scene by scene breakdown. So yeah, just gonna preview that and announce that. So that's available it will only be available for the Patreon supporters, or one-time purchase, or you can just join for $1 in 1 month and then quit immediately. So I'd recommend checking that out if you can afford it, because it is, I did put a lot of thought and energy into doing that. And it's one of the videos I'm most proud of, I would say. I mean, I just made it, so maybe it's premature to say that, but so that's coming out in in a week, 10 days, sort of. I don't know, not this Monday, but the following Monday. Anyway, I think we got some more stuff in the chat. Let's see where we're at. Stephen Kennedy, have you seen many movies this year, Mark? If so, which one? Actually, that's one of the things I was going to talk about. So put a pin on that, Stephen Kennedy. I'm going to get back to that. Brandon, question: what's your second science fiction love after Trek? I'm guessing The Expanse. You guessed correctly. Good guess. Not the least bit, because I've said before that's my favorite show of all time. I think I would hold The Expanse even more than any Star Trek show as my favorite show of all time. But Star Trek is just, there's more of it, and there's more to get deep into and obsess over. There's just not enough of The Expanse out there. It's just one show with like 63 episodes, so you can't really rewatch it only so many times. And the books are good too. Love the books. Let's see, what else do we have here? Stephen Kennedy, when is that Section 31 movie coming out? I hope it's not awful. I wouldn't bank on that hope. I don't know. Maybe it won't be awful. I agree. I hope it's not awful, but yeah, it doesn't look good. But who knows? Like I never like. I mean, I love Michelle Yeoh, of course. She's a great actress, but I never liked JoJo. I know it wasn't her; it was that other chick, but she was there when you had that line, that yum yum. Oh my God. This is one of the worst moments in all of Star Trek. But I don't know when it's coming. I forget. I'd have to Google it. Why don't you Google it? You're not in the middle of a live stream. Sorry, I don't mean to bark orders at you, but in general, like I don't remember. Sometime next year, maybe April. I don't know. I can't remember. Jordan Johnson, Mark, is there something wrong with the environmental controls that's snowing on the promenade? If wishes were wishes. Yes, that is one of the worst episodes of Deep Space Nine, which I've already put out shorts for. You've probably seen. But the actually, I think tomorrow is when I upload the video on public. But yeah, terrible. And it's in my top 25 worst. That will have that screen, the screenshot, the what do you call it? Thumbnail will be the whole worst, with the inverted color, because yeah, it's not. I think it's number 14 my worst. Let's see. Brandon saying hell yes, I'll do that. I'm not sure what you're referring to there. Stephen Kinney, nice one. I can't wait for the revisited of Duet. Well, fair, yeah, good. I know you're really into that episode as well. And Stephen Kinney, if I only watch it today. Brendan Neilhouse, stop using your imagination. Where did they get the emus from? I don't know. There was probably a company that lent them out to Hollywood Productions. I'm sure they have all sorts of animals accessible in LA because of the huge movie industry there. There's probably a company that does it. Apparently, emus are I don't know. You might know this, but emus are. I'm assuming you know it just because you're Australian, but you might know that emus are actually quite hostile. They're quite aggressive, and the one on the set was no exception. Like Rene Auberjonois had to be like very careful shooting the scenes with it, and apparently it would it's going around like fucking shit up sometimes in between scenes. But they called it a Jimmy Jong Jaw. It's a fucking emu. But anyway, duet watch along, Mark. I'll be for that. Cool. But not to spoil too much of my top 25, but I think anyone who is even slightly familiar with my channel probably already knows this. You will be seeing a live stream of that eventually in my top 25. I'm sure that's not a huge shock to anyone. But so if you, for whatever reason, can't watch it on Patreon, then you can wait for the live stream where I'll have Alyssa and Darren, and we're going to talk about it. So that will come too. Will Ferrell, number 1, did you like John Glover's character Varad? I did. This is actually a point of disagreement between me and Alyssa, because Alyssa didn't like this episode. I do. I'm actually, that's the next episode I'm going to watch. And I still need to record my review for Gambit. I'll probably do that tomorrow. But the next episode I'm going to watch is going to be Invasive Procedure. And I actually love that episode. I think it's underrated. I think I put that in my underrated episodes. I think John Glover is good in that episode. I know I've seen John Glover's been in a whole lot of things, like he was in Batman Forever, and I don't know, a lot of random shit I don't remember. But what I always know him from, and when I first saw this episode, I was like, hey, it's the dude from Gremlins 2. Was it Ronald Clamp or something? It's supposed to be like a Donald Trump sort of ripoff, but really he's more, I would say, he's not what you would think of as Donald Trump nowadays, because of he's the president's thing. He's different than what he was looked at in the 90s when Gremlins 2 came out. He was more of probably more equated to someone like Elon Musk or the who's the dude that has Amazon? Jeff Bezos. Yeah, someone like that. Actually, and I think here's the thing, and I was gonna say this to my sister, but I know that she would never watch it, no matter how much I recommended it, is to rewatch Gremlins 2. Because I know she did her nostalgia lane a few years ago and she watched the Gremlins movie. She's like, this movie sucks. It's so much worse than I remember. I didn't think it was that bad. Gremlins, when I rewatched it, I thought it was fine. But Gremlins 2, I was actually surprised of how well that movie holds up and how good it is. Robert Picardo was in that movie too. He played like the henchman of Ronald Clamp. But anyway, because that movie is actually it had some childish, immature jokes that didn't age very well. Sure, like what comedy from the early 90s doesn't. But like some of the jokes in there like age better. Like the way they were making fun of like the evil corporations that control everyone and charge for everything. It's like, and how they treated their workers. It's like so relevant to the bullshit you hear like Amazon is doing, making their employees piss in jars and shit like that. That it was actually surprisingly so. Their commentary was like more on point now than it was. It's just a funny movie. I like a lot of time, and I think my sister used to tell me that the only reason I liked it is because I was 12 when I watched it and I was really immature. And that's what I thought when I went back and watched it. I was like, yeah, this is going to be silly, something that's not going to age that well because I'm much older. But I rewatched it and I was like, no, this is surprisingly ages well. And it's actually still, I mean, as I said, there's some dumb shit in there. But it was a really good movie. And that's what I always remember John Glover from. And I think that they should do Gremlins 3 and have Ronald Clamp return as the president. They should. But as I said, it's not really that right sort of character for it. Oh, is it Daniel Clamp, not Ronald? Daniel Clamp. John Glover also played Lionel Luthor. Was that the one from Batman Forever? I don't remember. I remember he was in that one. Brandon saying I'd watch both Gremlin movies if you paid me a large enough sum. Nah, I'm not going to give you any money. If you don't want to watch it, that's your loss, Brandon. I'm not going to pay you for it. I'm not telling you to watch the first one. Just watch the second one. But, it's your loss if you don't. Let's see. Yeah, I heard that my little brother got nibbled by a red kangaroo when he was a wee lad. No, I heard about kangaroos being aggressive too. The people I knew in New Zealand who's been to Australia told me that. I was like, because I never actually did see kangaroo outside of like captivity. I never seen a kangaroo in person. I only been to Australia the once, and it was Sydney, and I barely left the city, so I'm not going to see any kangaroos hanging out in Sydney. But they used to have there were some wallabies, which if you don't know are like miniature kangaroos. There were some in New Zealand as pests, but they weren't supposed to be there, so they're like they kill them off because they're pests and kill the native wildlife. And I didn't see any of them either in the wild. I just saw them as roadkill. But there used to be, so one of the towns I lived at in New Zealand had a little park. It wasn't a zoo, but they had like this little wildlife section with a few like not exotic animals. It had mostly like for turkeys or llamas or stuff like that, and they had a wallaby there. So, and that was right by my house. I used to walk by and see it all the time. I don't think it was a kangaroo, if I remember correctly. It was a wallaby. But yeah, never saw a kangaroo in the wild. But I knew from people who lived in New Zealand who've been to Australia that they can be aggressive and that you shouldn't go up and just hang out with them. Brandon, you were immature. That means of your sister to that's mean of your sister to say so. No, it's not. It's a fact. Of course I was immature. Everyone who when they were 12 years old was immature, and I certainly was no exception. I was very immature when I was 12 years old. It's not mean to say that, it's a fact. I was a hyperactive little shit when I was 12 years old. Let's see. Stephen King, The Gremlins was the first movie I saw in the cinema. Oh, really? I don't remember the first movie I saw in the cinema because I was too young. My parents used to take me to movies when I was really younger. If so, I remember, I vaguely remember seeing E.T. in the movie theater, and I was like 3 years old or something. So I don't even know what the first movie I saw in the cinema was. Will Ferrell number one says Smallville. Oh, yeah, I never watched Smallville, so I wouldn't know. Brendan House, how did I not know about the wallabies in New Zealand? I don't know. It's not that common of a fact. Brendan House, I'm the older sibling in my family. Oh, I'm the youngest, which you already knew, but I am. I'm the youngest. Let's see. So what else? Oh, so I promised Steven I'd get back to the movies. So I saw Dune 2, which I thought was okay. I liked Zendaya in it. She was pretty good. But I was mainly going to talk about the 5 movies that I saw over the summer. That is the northern hemisphere summer. Because I made a point to see, there was 5 movies I heard about. And I'm like, I'm going to see these 5 movies this summer. And so I went and I saw them in the theater. So now I'm going to rank them. I will probably do a video similar to this at the end of the year, but I'll just talk about it now. I'm going to rank them from my least favorite to my favorite of the 5 movies I saw this summer. My least favorite one, number 5, is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Some people really like this movie. I thought it was a letdown. I like the newest trilogy of Planet of the Apes, like especially War of the Planet of the Apes. I think is a fucking brilliant movie, but this is not as good. Like they shouldn't have done it. Like War of the Planet of the Apes was supposed to finish the trilogy, and they weren't supposed to do any more. But of course, money, they want to do more. And this movie sucked. Well, no, okay, it didn't suck, but it's not that good. It didn't justify why they needed to do another Planet of the Apes movie, and more to the point, it did this stupid thing that Hollywood's obsessed of doing, where it doesn't actually fucking finish the story and it leaves it too open for a sequel. I fucking hate that. And that's another rant I could go on. That this is a problem with Hollywood in current day, is that they don't like to do complete. And this is happening. This is nothing new. This has been going on a lot since like 2014 or something. This has been going on for over a decade. That they leave shit too open for a sequel instead of having. You can still leave shit open for a sequel, but you still have a conclusion, like Empire fucking Strikes Back did. But yeah, this movie, it just didn't have a definitive ending, and the ending was obviously just setting it up for another sequel. I'm like, yeah, fuck you. That's my response to that. I don't even want to say. I'm not going to bother saying another sequel. They shouldn't have done it. They should have just ended it at the first one. So number 4, second least favorite movie I saw this summer would be A Quiet Place Day One. I love A Quiet Place. A Quiet Place is one of my favorite movies of all time. I like The Quiet Place 2. That was pretty good too. So I was really looking forward to seeing A Quiet Place Day One. It's a prequel. It's kind of unnecessary, but they have a much bigger budget because A Quiet Place was very sort of intimate, and it was just about one family and living in the woods, where this is like aliens invading New York City. So it's a lot bigger budget, and it looked amazing. But the storyline's actually kind of dumb. It comes off like the storyline itself is kind of a pretentious art house film, and it's not to spoil it, but this is given away almost as soon as the movie starts, so it's not a spoil. It's not a spoiler. As soon as you watch the movie, you find this out. Um, the main character is terminally ill. So kind of then I'm like, why the fuck am I caring about following this character running from monsters if she's terminally ill and she's gonna die soon anyway? It seems kind of a waste. But they try to make some pretentious arts. Oh, this is her being alive or some bullshit like that. I just think it's dumb. Like, don't get me wrong, there were some great scenes in it. The horror was good. The special effects are good, but and they don't even introduced the other her co-star isn't introduced until like 45 minutes through the movie, and then I don't give a shit about him because they just throw him out of nowhere and like, hi, here's this other guy that you're supposed to care about. I don't know, I didn't think it was a well scripted movie. So then we'll get into the third one, which I actually did really like, but not as much as other people do, and that's Deadpool and Wolverine. Yeah, this is okay. Like, I think my sister likes this movie way more than I do. I I think it's a good Deadpool movie, but I actually think Deadpool 2 is better than this one. Because it does get a little bit tired. Like, they do just recycle the jokes, and towards the end, like the whole joke with like that the hot looking Deadpool who gets killed and they treat like shit the whole movie. Like, I don't get that. Why is that supposed to be funny? And like the dog, the funky looking dog, like, I don't get that either. Why is that supposed to be funny? I mean, there are some funny moments and there are some good character moments in it. But my main beef, and this is where my sister, I think, disagrees with me the most, but my main beef with the movie is that it didn't further the MCU. Like, I thought this would be the movie that would bring Deadpool into the MCU and further develop the MCU and sort of not necessarily save it, because I do agree with her that it doesn't need saving, that it's still good, but sort of change things up. And it doesn't. It doesn't do that at all. It barely addresses the MCU. Instead, it has all these cameos. Again, not to spoil it too much, but it has all these cameos from characters in other Marvel movies outside of, like, the Fox Marvel movies outside of the MCU. And I could not give a shit about the Fox universe. I don't give a fuck. Here's the secret I don't think most people agree with, but I don't like any Marvel movies outside the MCU. Like, I only like the MCU. That's also why I hated Spider-Man No Way Home, because I fucking hate all those Sony Spider-Man movies. I don't like any of them. Fuck Tobey Maguire. I don't give a shit about him. And I feel the same way about all of the bullshit cameos they had from the Fox. I don't give a shit about these people. I want to see the fucking MCU. Like, so that the movie kind of irritates me. But I didn't think it was bad. I still thought it was okay. It just wasn't that great. It was fine. It was fine. It was disappointing. It's not anywhere near as good as I thought it would be. So then my number 2 second favorite movie this summer was Alien Romulus. And yes, it's false advertising. There were no Romulans in it. God damn it, we're no Romulans. They don't go to Romulus. They don't even go to Remus. We don't even see any Remans. What the fuck? All right, I know I said this joke before, but in all seriousness, I like this one. This is actually, I think, the best Alien movie in decades, which is not a high bar, to be fair. Most of the Alien movies since Aliens back in fucking 1986 sucked. I mean, after Aliens, obviously, Aliens is one of the best movies of all time, which is why I'll keep seeing these Alien movies regardless. Well, not all of them sucked. Like, Alien Covenant was okay. Prometheus was just average. Fucking Alien 3 was a fucking disgrace because it killed off Newton, what's his face, between movies before the movie even starts. So fuck that movie for that. And the main premise of the movie is just boring. Like, what's this fucking Tywin Lannister? What's his name again? He was in that movie and he said it was better than Aliens. I'm like, okay, you're not biased at all, fucking moron. But then, God, what are the other ones? Was there any other ones? Oh, the Alien versus Predators. The less said about them, the better. And then fucking Ridley Scott doing his pretentious Prometheus bullshit. I mean, again, it's not terrible, but he should. I don't give a fuck about his pretentious bullshit. So, Alien Romulus is actually really good. The ending was a bit ridiculous. Yeah, like the very end. It's like, come on, that's stupid. But outside of that, it was a good character story. I was surprised of how good the first hour was and how they introduced the characters, how I cared about the characters. I didn't expect that. In fact, I think they did a better job than other than the first and second Alien movie. They did a better job than any of the other Alien movies of getting you to care about. Like those people in Alien Covenant, I didn't give a shit about any of those people. But the ones in Alien Romulus, like they did a really good job of introducing. Now they did do a bit too many callbacks and remember this line and shit like that, but that doesn't bother me that much. And so they had like whatchamacallit CGI of one of the characters, like an actor who's not alive anymore, and they redid him. And some people despise that and hate it. I don't care. That stuff never bothered me, or the de-aging, anything like that. I don't get why people hate that so much. I'm fine with it. It's just the ending was a bit cheesy. But other than that, yeah, it was a pretty good movie. Okay, and then my number one favorite movie I saw this summer was Furiosa, and it's really disappointing that it did so badly. It bombed at the box office and went to HBO Max like 2 months later. That's another disagreement I had with my sister. She thinks there's nothing wrong with calling it Max, but I'm like, fuck that shit. It's HBO Max. I think to me it's like calling Twitter X. Why are they gonna drop the HBO and just call it Max? What do I give a fuck? Max could be anything. HBO is what made it. But anyway, that's digress. Furiosa was a really good movie, and I did a video about it when it first came out. And I dare say, and I know I'm very alone in this, but I dare say I actually liked it better than Fury Road. Because I think Fury Road was overrated. In fact, I went and I didn't realize I liked it better than Fury Road, but after I saw Furiosa, I went back and rewatched Fury Road, and I'm like, Furiosa was better. And that's why I'm so like, Fury Road was like a huge smash. Like people were calling it one of the best movies ever made, and it was a huge blockbuster hit. But Furiosa bombed and it got so reviews. Like some people loved it, but most of the reviews are kind of middling. And I was like, but it's actually a better movie because it has more character development. It has more of a story. Like that's what I want. I want a story. Where Fury Road is like, oh, let's drive over here. Now that place sucks. Now let's just drive back. Like that's not a story. Furiosa had more of a story. It was like more of a chronicle. It's more of a saga. And unfortunately, we're probably not going to get another Mad Max movie because this one bombed. I don't get why it bombed. I don't understand it. Where other movies like that sucked, like did well. Like I'm trying to think. Like Inside Out 2, I'm not saying that sucked. I probably watched that on Disney Plus. I think it's out now, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. But there was other like blocks. Like Bad Boys 3 did well. Or 4, or however many fucking ones they made of that. Really? That piece of shit? Like, who wants to see fucking Will Smith in his 60s running around being a cop? I don't know, not me. Anyway, let me check in with the chat. Because that was a long rant about movies. Stephen Kennedy, the first hour was good and the second hour was kind of boring. I lost track. What movie you're talking about then? Jordan Johnson, that's a problem in Star Trek 2. The bonding, for example, what was the follow-up in that? Stephen Kennedy, I love A Quiet Place. I didn't like the second one, and the third one was okay. So I'm the opposite. I thought the second one was okay, and the third one I didn't like. That's just me. I think the second one is the best of them all. Huh? What are you talking about now? Will Ferrell, number one. I saw Beetlejuice 2 2 Sundays ago. Yeah, how was that? Because I'm not gonna see that. I never cared about Beetlejuice. Maybe I'll watch it when it comes to streaming. But yeah, I don't really like Tim Burton either. I'm not a big Tim Burton fan. I just couldn't really get into his style. Stephen King, I like Aliens, but Last Act was terrible. Absolutely agreed. Um, who's John Lance? Oh, Charles Dance. Yeah, there you go. Charles Dance. That's the one. Stephen Kennedy, I like that movie, but it wasn't as good as Fury Road. See, and most people would say that, but I actually liked it better than Fury Road. How about that? Oh, Deadpool. The second one was the best. Yes, I agree. Second Deadpool was the best. Uh, yeah, Deadpool 2. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely agreed on that. Let's see. I need another drink. Uh, 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 hold on. And then those people who watch Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, did you hear about how George R. R. Martin said some shit about House of the Dragon writers and was giving them shit online? And he took it down, but like HBO was like really upset and they were doing damage control. But like a friend of George R. R. Martin was saying that this is only the tip of the iceberg of what he's upset about, and that was just a warning shot to warn HBO because apparently he is very upset with the plans he saw for season 3 of House of the Dragon. This is very interesting. Apparently, it was a close friend of George R. R. Martin who said this in one of her blog posts or something. So this is very interesting. Um, what George R. R. Martin complained about was the whole blood and cheese thing and how the show handled it. And I think it was fine. I think they're being unrealistic. I think anyone, including George, anyone who was complaining and thought it should have been more like the book, are being unrealistic. Like, and I think Alyssa pointed this out even a year ago that of course they needed to soften it. Like, it would have been like unacceptable to show it on screen the way it plays out in the book. And I agree. And there's other things people in season complain about season 2, like that are different changes from the books, like the way Alicent behaved in the finale. I am trying to be vague, by the way, for people who don't want spoilers. But yeah, the way she behaved in the finale and the way the thing with Damon having visions or whatnot, like, I don't give a shit about any of that. Like, I think that's fine. I'm perfectly okay with the show making changes like that as long as as long as it leads to good storytelling. That's all that matters to me. What bothered me about House of the Dragon season 2 was that the pacing sucked. And it's funny because so many people who are complaining about all this bullshit seem to be willing to give it a pass on the pacing, to say, oh, it's because HBO cut the number of episodes in the season and then there was a writer's strike so they couldn't go back and rewrite it. I don't give a fuck. I'm not so willing to give the showrunners a pass. And then according to Ryan Condal, this was his plan for season 2 all along. He never said anything about HBO cutting the episodes and making them change their plan at the last minute. He was saying very clearly this was always the plan. People are like, oh yeah, of course he'd say that. Why? Why the fuck would he say that if it's not true? I'm sorry, but I am not willing to give him a pass. And I think by far that's the worst thing about it. Like, as long as House of Dragon season 2 had better pacing, then I wouldn't give a shit about any of these changes. They're like, oh my god, they're changing it from the book. I don't give a shit. As long as it's good storytelling, but the bad pacing is not good storytelling. And even if you were to say that, oh, HBO cut the 2 episodes short, it doesn't change the fact there's fucking terrible pacing in the season. It doesn't change the fact we get like 6 episodes of fucking Damon fucking around having weird visions in Harrenhal. And we get fucking every single episode we see Corlys just standing by his ship being repaired. Like, what the fuck? And no, see, I think these people are wrong for, and fucking, what's her face? Rhaenyra just standing out the balcony every fucking episode talking to Mysaria. Like, no, this is bullshit. Like, the pacing was the only issue with the season. I don't give a shit about any of the changes. That's what and honestly, they're still talking about doing the show in 4 seasons. And because they got through so little of the story in season 2, like, they are going to have to rush almost Game of Thrones season 8 style in order to meet the ending in season 4. And that's bullshit. So I don't know. I don't know what to make about this George R. R. Martin saying that there's some changes coming up that he really doesn't want to happen. Because they could be planning on leaving out massive, or at least shortcutting massive chunks of the story in order to finish it off in 4 seasons. Which I fucking hope not. But by the way, this is one thing why I'm irritated with George R. R. Martin. It's like, now, you're choosing now to speak out against House of the Dragon, which actually is fairly decent, and not Game of Thrones season 7. He still hasn't said anything bad about season 7 or 8. Well, to be fair, he hasn't said anything good about it either. He's been avoiding the topic, and I think people can kind of read between the lines and see that he fucking hated it. But still, if you're going to speak out against anything, you should be speaking out against that. Anyway, Stephen Kennedy says, okay, I'm off to bed. 3 a.m. for me now, and I have to work in the afternoon. Night all. Good night, Stephen. Thanks for staying up late for the stream. Will Ferrell number 1 said it was good, but for way too many plot holes. If you mean House of the Dragon, then I don't think it had plot holes. It just had bad pacing. But anyway, that's just me. Brandon saying it was Ryan all along. Jeez, thanks, man. What are you talking about? About Ryan's being the one to fuck up all the Ryan Condal being the one to fuck up the pacing? Yeah, I talked about this before, if that's what you're talking about. Ryan, light the Condal. All right. Yeah. That is his fault. It's totally his fault. I don't get why people were willing to put all the blame on HBO and give him a pass. In fact, there's rumor out there that Martin is pissed off at HBO more than he is of Ryan Condal, but that's not confirmed either. Jordan Johnson, the chopping off the hands in episode 1 was kind of a turnoff for me. Chopping off the hands? What? Oh, the heads. Chopping off the heads in episode 1. Oh, yeah. Well, the book was way worse. And that's what George R. R. Martin is complaining about. He wanted it to be way worse. More gruesome. But anyway, what else is there? Oh, speaking of you saying Ryan all along, speaking of Agatha all along, I don't know if anyone's checking out Agatha all along. I actually really like it. I was surprised. I wasn't that excited for it. I was like, yeah, this is going to be kind of boring. Do we really need Agatha's show? But I'm actually really enjoying it. Like, I think I'm surprised with how much I'm liking it. I think this is probably one of the best Marvel shows in a long time. But we're only 3 episodes in, though. So they still have time to fuck it up. But yeah, I mean, I think this is, if it holds this quality, I think it could end up being one of the best Disney Plus Marvel shows. Like, better than Moon Knight, even. Because that kind of shit the bed. And definitely better than stuff like She-Hulk and they've done some bullshit like Secret Invasion. Yeah, that sucked. And Echo was just average. Like, no, this is better than Echo. Like, this is really good so far. I really like Aubrey Plaza. I kind of have a crush on her. I think she's really hot. I like that sort of goth look. It's kind of what I'm into. but she was really. I never watched the Parks and Recreation, but she was really good in. There's a couple of indie movies she was in. God, I had it up, but I fucking closed the page. It was so Ingrid Goes West, where she plays like someone obsessed, like with a mental really disability who's becomes obsessed with someone on Instagram and like pretends to be her friend or something. It's like, yeah, it's a really funny. It's actually a really good movie. She does a good job. And then there's this other movie I watched on the plane last time I came back from New Zealand called Emily the Criminal, which was an interesting movie because she was as someone who had all these student loan debts and she was trying to get a job to pay off her loans and she was offered like an internship and she like freaked out and yelled at him like, would you expect me to do all this work for free? How the fuck am I supposed to pay my bills? And the boss is like, hey, you're being entitled little shit. I had to do internships when I was younger. I was like, yeah, but you had your fucking mommy and daddy paying for everything. Pretty good like commentary. And then she ends up getting into, I can't remember what criminal enterprise. I think it was like money laundering or something like that. She ended up getting into something criminal. No, it was buying stolen goods and stuff like that. It was like working for people like this shady drug industry, or not in drug, but I don't know. They're stealing shit. She became a criminal, hence the name of the movie, and not to spoil, but to spoil it, you're probably not going to watch it anyway. The movie ended with they figured that she was in a bind, that the criminals were going to kill her, but she ended up outsmarting them, and then ended up taking over the enterprise, and she moved to like some South American country like Venezuela, Argentina, or something like that, and continued. It was her own boss and controlled this criminal enterprise, which I think was, and that was the happy ending, and the movie ended. And I think that's an interesting ending. I was actually going to do an essay about this, comparing it to Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Again, not to spoil those endings, but kind of to spoil those endings. They both ended with, and this is typical of actually most criminal movies about crime lords, it ends with them getting their just desserts. Like Breaking Bad ended with him dying, Better Call Saul ended with him going to jail. So it's like, and that tends to be the general thing that happens with a lot of these movies about criminals, that they either die or they go to jail because they, even if it's about crime, they have to have the message overall that criminals never prosper, that they always get the best desserts and they always get what's coming to them. But in this movie, she actually got a fucking away with it. And not only did she get away with it, she became an even bigger criminal. And that was the happy ending. Oh, and the other show that did that, again, not to spoil it, but kind of to spoil it, was God, what was that Netflix show with the Ozark. That also had an ending where the criminals got away with it. And that's why I think, because I watched this review on that show where they were like saying that, oh, those guys probably got their just desserts and they probably got arrested. There's no way they got away with this. But like, you're missing the whole fucking point of the ending. The whole point of the ending is that they did get away with it because they became legitimate like politicians, or at least like not politicians, but like whatchamacallit, what do they call those people who give money to politicians? Lobbyists. They became lobbyists. And the whole point is that lobbyists are criminals who get away with it. And because they went legit and they became legitimate lobbyists, yeah, they're going to live happily ever after. Yeah, well, they shouldn't. They killed a bunch of people. They're bad people. But that's the whole point. It's a commentary on how fucked up our society is, which I think is what made that even though it's nowhere near as good a show as Breaking Bad, I think the ending was more interesting from that standpoint, because it wasn't just because people were just so used to that standard, oh, the criminal gets, his comeuppance. They're so used to movies and shows doing that they can't cope when they're saying, no, these fucking terrible people who killed a bunch of people and did a lot of horrible things, they're going to get away with it because that's how our fucking system works. That's more powerful. So I really like the ending of Ozark, even if I didn't. I thought the show kind of was a bit boring and moved too slowly, but the ending was good. But Emily the criminal wasn't even saying she was a horrible person. It was saying that the system fucked her, and she was like, well, fuck the system then, and went outside the system. Again, that's subverting expectations, having different sayings. But anyway, Brandon Neilhouse says goth chicks are hot. It is true, very much so. Very much, I agree. And yes, that was in Agatha All Along illusion. Oh yeah, the Ryan All Along. Yeah. Jordan Johnson, Mark, I got a good countdown idea for you. Top 10 worst character destructions in Star Trek. Would it be Kes in season 3 of Voyager or Q in season 2 of Picard? Mark, and is your cat's name Neelix? No. Was there? No, that was Barkley. Doesn't Barkley have like a cat named Neelix? No, my cats are named Holden and Naomi after the characters from The Expanse, as we established my second favorite sci-fi franchise. Lillian is my other cat, and that's just the name that came with her when I adopted her from the shelter. Nothing special, but not TV related at all. Let's see. What are you saying? Not all of them, some of them were killed. What are you referring to? Are you referring to the character destructions in Star Trek? I don't know who I would choose. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really doing top 10s unless someone requests from my Patreon, because I'm laser focused on just doing these Star Trek episode reviews. Like, I don't really. Oh, Ozark. Now the main family, they all survived. Like all the members of the main family survived. The southern chick, the southern chick wasn't part of the family though. She died. I don't remember that. I guess it was a while. But no, everyone in the family, like the father, the mother, the son, and the daughter, they all live. And they're the ones who did the fucked up shit. But yeah, I didn't remember that the southern chick died. I think she was about to be redeemed, and that's why they killed her. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen it. I just remember that the family lived. But anyway. Yeah, and the family was the most despicable one. They got away with it. And see, the southern chick died because she didn't become a legitimate lobbyist. That's the point. She was just a criminal. So the petty criminals die, but the lobbyists prosper, even though they're just as fucking evil. That's a good ending. It's a good ending. But anyway, what else is I gonna? What was I just talking about? I lost my train of thought. I don't know, my cats or something. All right, so let's see. Did I have an? It's okay. It's getting on to be pretty late. I think I talked about everything I wanted to talk about. Oh, I was just very briefly. I try to avoid politics in my channel because that's not really what my channel is about. But I do spend a lot of my time watching political videos and news and whatnot. I kind of envious of Steve Shives because he talks about politics a lot, and he like flat out like says a lot of stuff that is progressive, and it's like, if you have a problem with that, you can fuck off and unsubscribe to my channel. I'm jealous of him because he has like millions of subscribers, so he can afford to do that. I have shit all subscribers, and I'm trying to get more, so I can't afford to do that, but I would if I could. Feel kind of like a sellout, but hey, I never pretend that my politics aren't what they are, and I do bring them up when they become relevant to what I'm talking about. I just don't flaunt them all the time. But I did want to mention, because I saw this thing on the Daily Show, which I think is really funny. It's pretty funny recently when they were talking about the presidential election coming up in the US that there's 7 swing states, and that everyone who lives outside those, so 43 of the 50 states that aren't in the swing states, they live in, no one cares, gives a shit a stand. No one gives a shit a stand. And I live in no one gives a shit a stand because my state's going blue no matter what, so it doesn't matter who I vote for because of the electoral fucking college, which is primitive, and shouldn't exist, and it disenfranchises like 80% of the country or something like that. Like, only people in swing states matter to the elections. That's the only people the politicians give a shit about, and that's not fair. It's a bad way to do elections. The fucking electoral college is antiquated, needs to fucking go. But anyway, sorry. You're like, I don't give a shit, Mark. Talk about Star Trek. I know, I'm sorry. I just had to bring this up. And these people had these stupid arguments like, oh, well, it needs to have the people who don't live in the big cities will control everything without the electoral college. Yeah, but people in swing states control everything with the electoral college. How's that any fucking better? And no, it's like every other office, like senator, governor, everything else, it's the popular vote. So why is it not the fucking popular vote for the president? And here's why. I'll tell you why. You know why is because back in the day when America was, young, they didn't have fucking telephones or cars, and so they had to have people come from different states with a horse and carriage having a list of, oh, these are your electors and this is what they voted. But we're not living in the 17th century anymore. And the other reason why is because of the Civil War, because they wanted it as a way to support slavery and keep it alive. That's a system we still need, something that was pro-slavery. But anyway, that's another topic. But it's antiquated and should go, and the only reason it won't go is because the Republicans know they'll lose without it. Which, if we got rid of electoral college, then the Republicans would have to change their policies to be more popular. Imagine fucking that. Jesus Christ. It's how democracy should fucking work. Anyway, I'm sorry. This is only a taste of the political rants I could go on. I could go on way more, but I'm not going to. Don't worry. I am not going to, because I know that's not what my channel is about. But I live in no one gives a shit a stand. But anyway, our political system should be something more like it is in New Zealand. Like, I love the way they did in New Zealand. I'm sure it's the same in Australia. Brandon will probably tell you, where they have a parliamentary system so that third parties can actually make a difference. That it's not just a two-party system. Like, there's still two parties in New Zealand that controlled everything, but the third parties could combine their votes and do a coalition with the major parties. So sometimes a major party needed the third parties in order to grab power. And I fucking love that, because I used to love that. I could vote for a third party and feel like I'm not throwing my vote away. That used to be great. Maybe I should move back there. And maybe if Trump wins, I probably will move back there, actually. Anyway. Let's see. Jordan says you can talk about anything, Mark. Well, thank you so much. And Mark, you can call me Jordan, by the way. I know I see the full name on screen. I usually just say it. Brandon likes the full name. He likes it when I say Brandon Neil Howes, not just Brandon. But I know everyone's different. Let's see. Thankfully, I live in another country. Your political system has always confused the heck out of me. As it should. It sucks. Brandon Howes, your sarcasm meter is working overtime today, mate. Yes. Well, yeah. I think I get that way on these live streams. Anyway, one last thing I want to talk about before I head off is I mentioned earlier, I was watching Steve Shive's stream before I came on. Hold on. What was Brandon saying? I don't know, Mark. I was watching the news 2 days ago, and there's been a massive swing to the right in New Zealand. Yeah, I heard about that. Which is unfortunate, but I still think the New Zealand. See, here's the thing you got to think about, and again, I'm getting back into politics. I'm sorry, but here's the thing you got to consider, Brandon, is that the right in New Zealand is equivalent to the moderate left in America. So when you say it's swinging to the right, you got to keep in mind in America that would be moderate Democrats. And Republicans in New Zealand would be considered the ACT Party, which is a minor extremist right party that never gets that many votes. That would be Republicans. So you do have to bear in mind that scale when comparing the US to New Zealand. Just FYI. All right, good night, Jordan. You're taking off now. Okay, that's fair. I'll be cutting out soon as well. Yeah, and Brandon's saying, yeah, mate, fair point. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So one last thing before I take off. I was watching Steve Shives and his live stream, and he was talking about Star Trek V because he recently did a video about why Star Trek V isn't as bad as you remember. And look, mate, I just watched Star Trek V 2 months ago, and it is as bad as I remember. It is worse than I remember. This whole, this isn't as bad. And fucking Alyssa was telling me about this, I think, in one of the live streams we were doing, that some people are trying to justify Star Trek V and say that it's better than people say. I'm like, surely not. Surely people would not be that stupid. But now I don't mean to call Steve Shines or anyone else stupid. Like, everyone's entitled to their wrong opinion. I'm sorry. Everyone's entitled to their opinions. But come on. Star Trek V? It's clearly the worst Star Trek movie, and anyone who says otherwise is just flat out wrong. Flat out. He was saying that Star Trek V was better than Generations. I'm sorry. Generations may not be the best movie ever. It has a lot of issues, mainly once the Kirk plot kicks in. But that's only a billion times better than Star Trek. It's nowhere near as bad as Star Trek V. Come on. Like, I don't know. I know my opinion on the Star Trek movies, other than Star Trek 2, which I agree with the majority, is Star Trek 2 is the best Star Trek movie. But other than that, my opinion on Star Trek movies is very wonky compared to everyone else's. Like, I like Nemesis. And actually, for those of Patreon supporters will know, I downgraded Star Trek 6. I think that one's a bit overrated. People talk like that was one of the best Star Trek movies ever. I think it's kind of flawed. I think Generations is probably better than Star Trek 6. Which people would think is crazy. But I think Generations is actually a good movie up until the Kirk stuff. And even some of the Kirk stuff is like the stuff with Picard and the Nexus. This is actually pretty good. I actually really like Generations. And I think Alyssa agrees with me that Generations is better than First Contact, which I'm saying, I know, again, a very wonky opinion. But my bigger wonky opinion is that Star Trek Nemesis is the best Next Generation film. Nemesis is not without its flaws either. Like, yeah, the Troy telepathic rape scenes were in bad taste and completely unnecessary, and the stupid Jeep chase scene was total bullshit. But I think it's better. Like, Tom Hardy does a good job. Like, the scenes with Patrick Stewart and Tom Hardy are fucking gold. And like, that battle scene they have at the end of Nemesis was the best battle scene in any Star Trek movie, period. I don't care what anyone said. When Picard fucking ran the Enterprise into the cemetery, like, that was fucking intense. The music was good, or at least in that scene. The rest of the movie, the music kind of sucked, but the music was good, and it was such an intense scene. So yeah, I do I do think that. So if I were to rate the movies, it would go Star Trek 2, Star Trek 3, Star Trek 4, the Genesis trilogy at top, then Star Trek Nemesis is 4, and then Star Trek Generations, then Beyond, because that's the best of the whatchamacallit ones, then Star Trek 6, then fucking Into Darkness, no, First Contact, then Into Darkness, and then what am I missing? Insurrection, Star Trek: The Motion Picture, and Star Trek 2009 as the second worst, and Star Trek 5 is the worst. That is the order of things, as the Jim and Dar would say. Yeah, did I leave something out? I don't know. But yeah, because fuck Star Trek 2009. That was a giant cash grab piece of shit. That's what most people think is one of the best Star Trek movies. And they say it's easily the best of the reboots. It's easily the worst. Like, that's another thing it won't get to me. Why do people like that movie? It's such a piece of shit. Like, they think, oh, you only think that because you're such a Star Trek geek and you don't like the fact of changing canon. Well, they shouldn't change canon. But other than that, it's a shit movie. The shit villain, one of the worst villains in all of Star Trek, is so poorly two-dimensional, poorly written, and the movie, the like storyline doesn't make any sense. The plot's all over the fucking place. Like, Kirk is friends with Spock, then they fight, then they're friends, and he's first officer, then he's captain, then he's first officer, then he's captain. Like, it's like objectively a poorly written script. Why do people like that piece of shit movie? I don't fucking know. Anyway, sorry, getting passionate about that. Brandon's with me. I hate Star Trek 2009. Absolutely. But anyway. Marshmallows. McCoy in Star Trek 5 calls them marshmallows. Oh, God damn it. Jordan Johnson, I know it wasn't just me. Go Star Trek 5. Oh, does that mean you like it too? I'll forgive you. And Brandon in the Ohio saying, but he is wrong. Yes, he is. What does God need with Star Trek 5? And Brandon in the Ohio says, tell Steve Shines to go climb a rock. Generations definitely has the best music. It's not even close. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Dennis McCarthy. He's a fucking musical genius. Although I do like James Horner better. So I think Star Trek 2 and 3 do have better music, but Generations is third. Yes, absolutely. Anyway, let's see. Generations is so depressing. Is it? I don't think it's depressing. I don't know why you think it's depressing. But Child Spock is so cute, though. Yeah. Jesus Christ. Green Women and Nokia. Oh, God damn it. Don't even get me started about the Nokia ringtones. The fucking product placement in the Star Trek movie. That's worse than having the Faith in the Heart song as the theme song of Enterprise. And if you know me, you know how bold of a statement that is. Anyway, okay, I think I'm done. I've been going for over 2.5 hours, close to 240, almost hitting that. So I have my limits too, and I think I just reached it. So anyway, I want to thank you, everyone. Thanks so much, everyone who joined me for my ranting and babbling, my incoherent babbling, because I'm such a wet blanket, according to that one troll. Anyway, thank you. Jordan. Now, Brandon's going to be very mad at you, Jordan, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. It's been a long time. Them fighting words, Mark. What, the Nokia phone being worse than the Faith in the Heart? Come on. I don't know. They're both really terrible, if that makes you feel better. But anyway, yeah, so yeah, thank you all for sitting with me as I get doing my various rants and everything like that. Yeah, everyone who joined, who we had Jordan, Brandon, Aaron, let's see, who else? We had some other people. No, we had more people earlier, had to leave. Maddie Jester, Stephen Kennedy, they were here earlier, they had to leave. Will Ferrell #1 stopped by. Anyway, yeah. So anyone else watching who didn't comment, or anyone watching in the archives, thanks so much for checking this out. Thanks so much for supporting the channel. Very much appreciate it. And if anyone has any ideas for shorts, what any parts of some of my older videos I can make into shorts, just let me know. Leave a comment. And yeah, if you want to check out my super deep analysis on Duet, you can join my Patreon even for just a month, or buy it as one-time purchase next Monday. So keep an eye on that. Other than that, I'm just going to keep going with my... Oh, the other thing I didn't mention, I fucking forgot to mention this. I'm doing podcasts. I'm turning all my Star Trek reviews into podcasts, and I'm on like pretty much everywhere you can find podcasts: Spotify, Amazon. I'm not on Apple yet because it's too complicated to get on there. But there's the other things, just like Pod Chasers, and I don't know, some other, iHeart on that. So yeah, and I'm starting with the original series because I'm going in order from all my Star Trek reviews. So I'm doing like 5 a day or 5 every other day. So I'm still in the original series, but I'm gonna keep uploading all them as podcasts. So eventually I will get caught up. And once I'm caught up and my new videos will become podcast automatically, then I'll start trying to promote it more. But at the moment, I'm just trying to upload my back catalog of all the Star Trek reviews. And it's just about Star Trek reviews. I'm not doing any other stuff like Expanse or, Marvel shit or anything like that. Just, yeah, Podbeam is the service I'm using to upload them, yes. But Podbeam takes them to all the other services, yeah, that you can watch them on, like whatever, pretty much, yeah, all these different services. So yeah, check that out. Give me like a positive review or feedback. It will help me. So that would be very much appreciated. I'm trying to get more people to make sure you're giving all my videos that you watch likes as well, because that's going to help me in the algorithm, stuff like that. So yeah. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.